Ow, ow. Ah, what the fuck is good, baby? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? How y'all living, man? It's a beautiful fucking day, and we got a full Trump taco on the menu right now. We got Trump taco on the menu right now. They're beef tacos, corn tacos. I don't even know what they are, but there is a taco on the menu right now, and the market is fucking ripping as we speak. Bitcoin's back above 69. Somehow, by the grace of God himself, SPX is up 1% green on the day. Are you fucking kidding me? After everything that we just went through, Black Monday, the circuit breakers, everything that you could have ever wanted for bears ends in a plus 1% SPX day is actually crazy. Palantir green. Nvidia's up 3%. At one point today, Tesla was down 5%. It's up 1%. The market is absolutely ripping. It's not a taco, brother. I don't know what more of a taco you want than Trump says war could be over soon. And everything that came before and after that. So we have all types of headlines to cover. We have a lot happening. We have a lot going on. You can't taco infra. Well, that's the discussion, right? Can you fucking taco infra? That is the discussion. And this is going to be what we have an obligation to get to the bottom of, because I don't think anybody really actually knows. And that's what we're going to try to figure out. But look, it's going to be a very big stream regardless. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot to get into. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome back to the stream. This is our second stream of the day. threadguy off a bean. You already know what it is. threadguy off a fucking bean, baby. threadguy off a bean. Welcome back. Second stream of the day. We did a market open today. Not sure how often we're going to be doing this. I'm fucking tired. I'm not going to lie. It's early. It was a fucking early one. We'll definitely be doing them on Mondays moving forward. And then whatever happens after that, I can't promise you too much. But we have a very special guest coming on the stream. We have Oil Citrini. We have Oil GCR coming on the stream today. This fellow Calvin right here. He's probably been the most bearish doomer Twitter account I've maybe ever scrolled in my entire life is coming on the stream today. And he's not believing what Trump is talking about with war, the Strait, Iran, any of it. So he'll be on in about an hour and 10 minutes. And it is going to be tweet's retarded. It's such a retard. I hate when people do this tweet. It's like so retarded. Everyone's like, oh, CT. Everyone's long CT. They mark the top. Shut the fuck up. Some of the best traders in the fucking world are from crypto. It's like such a stupid take. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. Shut your dumb ass up is what I have to say to that. So let's do a flood tweet real quick. He wants it. Before we do roll call anything, let's get one step ahead of ourselves. Can I even play this? I'll play the audio. I don't even think I could show this on stream.
If so, bump somebody. All right, thanks. I love you, man. Bye. I got my MTV.
I don't think I can show it.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh!
I'm a savage, baby!
Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Ball knowers know that clip. It's been played on stand-up a few too many times. Flood with the 100 gifted. Shout out Flood. I think Flood's still in the whole like 2,500 maybe on dinner 2K. He's clawing his way back. He's clawing his way back, baby. Hyperliquid right now is absolutely flying, and things look pretty decent in the crypto world right now. Hype 34 and some change. Things look pretty decent. So look, welcome back to the stream. Second stream of the day. Flood off a bean, Hyperliquid, Jeff off a bean, Trump off a beam, ripping a taco. We have Oil Citrini coming on stream in about an hour and 8 minutes. And yeah, I think it's going to be an electric one. I was worried he wasn't going to come on because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck happened to his portfolio after this oil dump, but I think he's still going to make it on because he just made an incredible bull post, which I'm about to read. Before we do it, roll call, baby. Roll call, roll call, roll call, roll call, roll call, roll call, roll call. Pre-rich intern, what's good? Caleb, what's good? Jack, what's good? Rockefeller, what's good? Villa, what's good? Kevin, what's good? Joey, Stone, Chad, Daddy, DNAP, Jackson Ray, Rustbond, Rectal, Seth Hogan, Chunky Nuts, Digi Money, Charlie P, Pipe Bomb, my boy. What's good? What's good? What's good? First chatter. Hey, W first chatter for You So Fly. W first chatter, You So Fly. Welcome to the stream. David, Polka, Cal, everybody in the house. What's good? One positive dude. What's good? 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 All right. Look, I was gonna start the stream and tell you this really Poppy forgot me. DJ Life 69. Welcome to the stream. I was gonna start and I was gonna tell this really dark story. I was on. It's a doomer tweet. I was on the fence about telling this really dark story that happened to me this weekend. And everyone at the company was like, don't tell the story. And I'm like, I might tell the story. It was like, don't tell the story. Don't tell the story. And the world kind of gave me an out by giving us Trump news. So we're not going to have to tell the story. This is a great one. After Iran, the U.S. will shift its focus to regime change in the Ethereum Foundation. That's awesome. So we're not going to tell the story. But before we get into the stream, I have like a couple things to go rapid fire intros through, and then there is news happening right now that we have to just get to and catch up. So I'm a second behind, so we'll just get straight into the news in a second. Market close is going to be electric. Maybe you'll get the dark story tomorrow, but it was dark. It really was. Okay, two things. One, first and foremost is on Friday's stream, I DoorDash a Nintendo Switch 2, and I've been playing the fuck out of Pokemon, and I'm not gonna lie, it's the best Pokemon game probably since Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It's the best Pokemon game of the 2020s by an absolute mile. And I was thinking about longing Nintendo on this. Poketopia, bro, it's like unreal. I'm not even trolling. I'm a Pokemon fanatic. I've probably played every mainline game ever. I played every game that's ever come out. I don't really think they've made a good game since Black and White 2, if I'm being objective about it. Sword and Shield was ass. Everyone that's come out was ass. X and Y was ass. Sun and Moon, ass. Every game that's come out of Pokemon since Black and White 2 has been absolute ass. And this game is so fucking good. It's hard to even like put it into words to how incredible it is. So maybe at a different day, we'll do a night stream. We'll play it on stream or something at night. But I don't think I can stream it like on my computer, on my monitor. So it is what it is. But bro, if you're on the fence about buying it, fucking buy the Switch, bro. Sell 0.01 Bitcoin and buy the Switch. It's so fucking good. How far are you? I just built the Pokemon Center. I probably played like 6, 7, 8 hours in the last 3 days. And I've been absolutely ripping it. I've been playing the fuck out of it. Okay, really quick before we do Trump stuff, Roy Lee dropped a video that I want to watch, and then we're gonna just skip all the other intro topics. I was gonna talk about Kai Trump and shit, but I'm not in. We'll double back on it because we only have an hour before Oil Citrini comes on. So let's watch the Roy Lee video because I tweeted I was gonna buy the bottom on him like 5 days ago. Seems like I sniped it. Let's see how we're doing it at close real quick though. It's crazy we're gonna end green here. It's just insane. SPX gonna close up 1%. Is so fucking gross. Brent 87. Look at this. Off a fucking cliff, man. Crude off a cliff. Crazy. Palantir basically gonna close green. And tech just like Jenny recovery on Nvidia, Jenny recovery on Google, Tesla. Like things honestly look pretty decent right now. We'll see how sustainable it is. But just honestly a sick close. I got out of oil. Yeah, I didn't lose very much money. I was just fucking around on stream. Circle up 10%. It's just a fucking monster. Him's up 42% of the day. I'm taking the pills now. Fuck it. Strategy up 4. Just a sick, honestly, a sick close. Trump also speaks. So we have an hour. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff. I'm going to watch an H-Rock video about oil, even though it's like probably a little bit dated now. We're going to have Calvin, Oil Citrini come on for 30 minutes. Talk about why the world's going to end. And then there's a Trump speech at 5:30 ET, but he's probably going to be late. So it's probably more like 5:45 ET. We're going to watch the Trump speech. And then whatever happens after that, we'll be here for. But I might do Market Open again tomorrow. And yeah, who was here for Market Open, by the way? Did you like that? I'm into that. On Mondays, at least. I'm into it. Double stream. I am. No, he hasn't messaged me back yet. I'm really into Market Open. Yeah, there's a lot of familiar faces, by the way. It was sick. I like it for Mondays and maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Friday is really boring usually, and Thursday is fine. So definitely I think I'm just going to do a soft commitment to every Monday, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I'm basically up at this time anyways. Like I watch Market Open every day, so I might as well just fucking stream it, right? It's just a waste of time to not stream it. All right, let's watch the Roy Lee video. that he just dropped. There was this article from TechCrunch that came out. They were saying he's lying about how much money they make if they're profitable. And then there was some back and forth. He's been getting shit on a lot recently. I don't think Cluely's doing that well. He dropped a video. And I mean, Roy Lee Cinema. I mean, it's minute 25. Let's watch it, and then we can get into what we have to get into today. What up, TG? Greg put me on. I can't watch the stream, but I'll watch tomorrow. Watch his Faji. Much love. Greg? Who's Greg? Love, bro.
Hello, TechCrunch Foids and Moids. There's a...
How old is he? How old is Roy Lee? 20? All right, he could do that's fine then.
Hello, TechCrunch Foids and Moids. There's a recent article about me that I want to address. But first, let's do a quick recap of Roy Lee history. Since I left school no more than 2 semesters ago, I've gotten 2 startups to do millions of dollars in revenue each, became the most well-known face in all of technology under 25 years old, got billions of views across all social media platforms, and I hand-wrote the growth playbook that every single YC startup right now is copying. We've never had a down month in Cluely history, and today we're fucking profitable. But I guess it's time for another article about Roy. Fun fact to all you tech-croids, did you know you guys have more mentions of Roy Lee?
He's calling him tech-croids? What does that mean? Croid. What is a croid? That's really good.
Another article about Roy. Fun fact to all you tech-croids, did you know you guys have more mentions of Roy Lee on your site than fucking Jeffrey Epstein? I hope you guys know that you are single-handedly responsible for the biggest media cover-up in all of modern history. But I guess it's not tech news that every tech billionaire is a satanic child.
That was good, too. Deflect. Deflect, art of the deal, baby. I like that.
Eating murderer. Instead, let's write the 12th article about Roy getting his numbers fractionally wrong 2 months after he launched the product.
Fractionally wrong.
And all the headlines make it sound like you guys dug up and caught me. No, I'm the one who reported the screenshots. I'm the one who uploaded it because I was trying to be more transparent than 99% of the founders on this entire fucking platform and own up to the one time I was actually a little bit off. Because I really am on the ground every fucking day trying to build something generational, and I'm doing it more publicly than every single one of you watching this video has ever had to. If I wanted to make a few mil and walked away, I would have launched the coin 6 fucking months ago.
If I wanted to scam, I would have done crypto. Fuck, man.
But I didn't, and I never would, because I'm really not trying to fucking scam people. I really am working my ass off to build.
If I wanted to scam, I would have done crypto. It's so brutal.
Something great. And I don't care if every single person thinks my strategy is wrong, because in 10 fucking years, when the market cap of Roy Lee is at $10 trillion, history will prove me right. And every anonymous profile picture having Twitter motherfucker could combine their micro penises into one giant hate boner against me, and it's still
I like that giant hate boner. I like that. I like that.
won't stop me. Because if there's one thing about me, it's that at the end of the day, I'm never ever giving up until the day I fucking die. Okay, I think that was a good take.
I mean, that was objectively a good video. I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, it was a good. Also, yeah, meat mugged, by the way. Crazy. Roy Lee from Cluely is meat mogging is insane. All right. I mean, I mean, objectively, it's a good video. Objectively, it's a good video. Objectively, it's a pretty, like, respectable response, all things considered. If I could have bought the bottom on Roy Lee with, I tweeted it. Look, before we have more important stuff to talk about, but I just want the record to be shown here that from not threadguy Roy Lee. Let this be known. Buying the local bottom on Roy Lee here. Bink. Definitely Bink on this IMO. Definitely Bink on this. So yeah, shout out to, I don't know. I think he's funny. He's entertaining. I like it. I think he's entertaining. But all right, let's see how we closed, and let's talk about Trump Taco, what led up to it, and what just happened. All right. So reversal today was pretty crazy. We did market open, and it was kind of scary. SPY was as low as 661, and this fucking thing is annoying. As low as 661 and really had no bottom in sight. Nvidia was getting crushed, Tesla was getting crushed. But the one thing that was, there's two things where chat outperforming. BTC was chatting really hard, even though it was probably just Sailor bidding. And Hyperliquid has been giga outperforming. Right now it's at 34.1. I posted in the pit yesterday, by the way. Hyperliquid's too cheap. You should long Hyperliquid. I didn't fucking do it for whatever reason. I don't exactly know what it was. And giga outperformed. There is a new Bloomberg article that dropped about hype, and we will watch that. So I had a bunch of like oil Trump stuff to cover, but let's just like see the taco here. Let's go maybe like Walter Bloomberg is probably the best. And then we can go back and look at history as to what happened. So Trump moles taking over Strait of Hormuz is one. Trump has again expressed interest in Ukraine conflict to end soon. This was one of them for sure. Trump says U.S. is very far ahead of his initial 4 to 5 week estimated time frame on Iran. CBS reporter on X citing interview. So very far ahead. He also said, Trump, I think the Iran war is very complete, pretty much. CBS reporter on X citing an interview. And that was basically it. Okay, so we'll go through the comments that led up to where we got today. But we basically went into Friday with extreme escalation on the Middle East conflict, and then Israel-U.S. bombing oil reserves in Iran, and Iran bombing everybody else's oil reserves. The Strait stays closed. Price discovery on oil goes parabolic over the weekend, and it happens on Hyperliquid, which was nuts. We got as high as 113 on TradingView, but I think it was higher. Crude 119. And so what I started the stream with this morning is this. Okay, yeah. So I started the stream with this morning. So, okay. Centrini short cooked. Yeah, he did. Centrini did cook. So, okay. I'll look at this tweet real quick. Oh, not that. Dude, give me a fucking break. This is why I don't blindly click links. Penguin. We're talking about fucking war in the Middle East. Sending me fucking penguin token. Give me a fucking break. So, okay. Everything was going crazy this weekend. And this was part of the reason why. Is apocalyptic scenes from Tehran after Israel strikes Iran's oil infra. And I watched this morning. It's worth watching again. Just apocalyptic scenes, and they're bombing oil. They're bombing oil reserves. Look, look at this is gnarly. This doesn't even look real. This doesn't even look real. It's pretty horrifying scene. Really horrifying. Look at these videos. Just nuts. And so this was posted on March 7th, 2026. So like Saturday morning, this is happening. And oil is going fucking nuts. We're covering it in the pit. And it's just like candle, 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 candle. It's happening on Hyperliquid too. Markets are closed. Price discovery is happening on Hyperliquid. And so this happens, and then Trump comes out and makes this comment and says, first time chatter, welcome, 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 welcome. Short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. Only fools would think differently. President DJT. Okay, so bombing of Iran oil refineries, combined with Trump basically saying too fucking bad it's going to get worse, combined with Pete Hegseth coming out and saying, War Secretary Hegseth, that President Trump's demand for Iran's unconditional surrender will happen whether Iran wants to admit it or not, whether their pride lets them say it out loud or not. And so comms over the weekend is basically saying, one, we don't give a fuck if oil goes higher or how much higher it goes. This is part of what we just have to deal with here. And then two, we're going to fight with Iran until their unconditional surrender. And the problem with Iran unconditional surrender is, what does that literally mean? What would it actually take for that to happen? Is that boots on the ground? What does that look like? But everything in here screams months. Venture coins, what's good, Luke? Trump out here just chaos maxing at this point, showing how much he can move a single ticker. So these were the comms over the weekend. And oil goes parabolic on Hyperliquid, doing multiple billions of dollars in volume, just like sending, because there's really no end to the conflict in sight. And then so what happened last night into this morning is probably the first lever pulled from Trump, which is the G7 countries, which is, let's go, G7, Japan, Germany, Canada, France, Italy, UK, and the United States, are considering a joint release of oil from reserves, potentially as much as 400 million barrels as oil prices skyrocket. So the US alone has like 300 to 400 million barrels. G7 countries as a conglomerate have 1.2 billion. And daily like volume or consumption of oil across the world is like 100 million. So they don't really have that much. They have a couple months worth. They don't really have that much. Soulport Tom said they were doing buybacks. Yeah, basically. They don't really have that much oil at all in this reserve. And so this headline comes out. We're considering releasing the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And the headline of last night was oil prices are back below $108 a barrel. So that was like a significant dump. We were at like basically 120. This comes out, we're back down to 108, and we're like, all right, it's a headline. Now, it's a Band-Aid ass headline, but it's a headline. And I mean, look, we've been saying this for a while. We are trading a crypto. The world trades like crypto. We are trading a crypto market where it's headline driven, headline dominant, and everything whipsaws on short term, 0-day options, high leverage, Hyperliquid vault, whatever. So Amit made a comment on this and says, crude oil was pushing $120 a barrel last night. Headline by the Financial Times showed that G7 countries are thinking of unleashing 400 million of the 1.8 billion barrels of oil they have in their collective reserves. I think this number is high. I don't think this number is true. A little high. Crude is now struggling to stay above $100 a barrel, right? So last night was that. Then this morning, this post, we're back down to like 100. Not a long-term solution, but in the short term, it is calming markets down. Futures recovered 50% of their losses. The question now becomes, what other strategies are in place to keep oil coming down? And so this morning on Market Open, I ripped a cheeky little oil long because I'm sitting here like, all right, this is obviously a Band-Aid solution. I'm subscribing to you can't taco bombing an oil refinery. And there has been infrastructure damage that you can't really undo. I've since closed it. I didn't lose very much money. Lost 5-10%. And so here's some math on, I think it's important to go back for like a little bit of context, and then we could talk about the taco. So this is a really good account. I'm trying to get him on stream. He's like oil GCR number 2. We have number 1 coming on. I agree the SPR release is necessary. You have to do it slow. But even if they're considering a coordinated release of 300 to 400 million barrels like the FT reported, that volume doesn't hit the market instantly. So after the U.S. decided to release 180 million barrels of SPR in 2022, the most they ever released in a single week was 8.4 million. We've got a supply disruption of over 10 million a day in the Middle East, but the historical max release rate is only 1.2 million. The U.S., which holds the most among Western nations, stores its oil in underground salt caverns, not regular surface tanks. The salt caverns are spread across 4 major sites along the Gulf Coast of Texas and Louisiana. To pull the oil up, they inject fresh water into the bottom of the cave. Since water is heavier than oil, it pushes the oil upwards. In theory, the max release capacity of the U.S. SPR is estimated to be around 4 million barrels a day. In reality, there were several physical constraints that kept the weekly max at 8.4 million. Every time you inject water to push the oil out, the salt walls dissolve a little. If you keep releasing at a large scale for a long time, it can mess up the cavern's structural stability. So they have like a physical cap on how much they can pull, which is interesting. If the cave gets too big or the walls get too thin, there's a risk of collapse. So the DOE had to control, Department of Energy had to control the release speed to protect the caverns. So they have like a physical infra problem in Texas in these like salt mines where they keep the oil, where they can't really pull out that much. Lastly, the SPR releases happen through an auction process. No matter how much you want to release, the refiners or traders who buy it need to have the storage space or refining capacity to actually take it. This is also happening in Kuwait, where they stop producing oil because they have nowhere to store it. They stop producing it because they can't keep it anywhere. Given the current logistics network of the U.S. oil industry, there's bound to be a limit on how much the winners can take at their desired timing. In conclusion, everyone could have predicted the SPR release, but what we need is oil that's available right now. With refineries and petrochemical plants already declaring force majeure, if we don't get feedstock immediately, more of them will have to shut down. So they're desperate to get feedstock somewhere. You can't offset a loss of over 10 million barrels a day with a supply rate of 1 to 2 million barrels a day. Without a solution to the fundamental problem, being the Strait of Hormuz, the upside pressure on the front end of the curve won't go away. It'll just let out a little steam, but it will still get hot. And so basically, what he's saying is that we can promise whatever the fuck we want of the G7 SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but there's like physical restraints on how much could be released, even if we wanted to release it all. It isn't just a one click, here you go. And we need oil now. And so here's a couple bear posts to get us to where we're at now. They're releasing reserves and oil hasn't even hit a new all-time high yet during the most severe energy crisis in history. This is our guest today, Calvin. Followed by skip. Here we go. Other notable headline, oil that doesn't even come out of Hormuz is stopping because of the attacks in Iraq. And so there's sort of like a grand shutdown everywhere. But then the headlines are very band-aid in verbiage of we will release the SPR, but the SPR has actual restraints. You can't really just do that. And so then we get to this morning, which is President Trump is reviewing a set of options to lower oil prices as soon as today. So this was this morning at 9:30, market open. Some options include restricting U.S. exports, intervening in oil futures markets, and waiving some federal taxes. Trump could also lift requirements under the Jones Act, which says domestic fuel must only move on U.S. flagged ships. 3, the White House is worried that the surge in oil prices will hurt U.S. businesses and consumers. That is, in fact, the concern. And then 4, Trump is considering midterm election implications of higher oil prices, which is relevant here because it's basically trading inverse to the oil price. Is like Republicans' likelihood to win the Senate in 2026 is basically trading inversely to how hard oil is pumping on Polymarket. And that's very relevant. Also, market here on will crude hit what by the end of March? And odds have dropped significantly on this, obviously. And so then we had this announcement in the morning. We had this that President Trump says he'll be holding a news conference beginning at 5:30 p.m. ET today. We're going to do our best to watch this. I'm assuming he's going to start late because they start everything late. But we're going to watch that after Calvin gets off. And so where we landed on G7, actually, let me call this out real quick, and then we're going to get to the A-Track video because I feel like it's a good watch. Where we landed on G7. Yeah, so announcement comes out, Band-Aid, and then it's followed up by this, which is that there was broad consensus that G7 finance ministers call on Monday not to release oil reserves just yet. It is just about timing. More analysis is needed. Final decision on whether to release oil reserves is more likely to be taken by G7 leaders. And so they basically said that we will release SPR. Market kind of like recovers, oil goes down, stocks go up, and then they came out after and were like, nah, we're gonna do it, but we're not gonna do it yet. Just headline. It's all, bro. It's all. Is this fade out tweet? Yes. Disagree. If they were to move forward with releasing it, they lose their biggest tool right away. Instead, if you dangle the carrot anytime oil goes above 100, you get way more bang for your buck. We live in the era of meme markets and meme policy. This is like the definition of meme policy. Okay, it is dangle the carrot. We're going to trade on headlines. You don't have to actually release anything or do anything drastic. Dangle the carrot, dangle the carrot. If things get scary, dangle the carrot. If things get scary, dangle the carrot, dangle the carrot, dangle the carrot. And dangling the carrot, they are. And so what happened following is we started to get commentary and leaks of de-escalation. Like, okay, this came out. Israeli officials 3 hours ago, Israeli officials are growing concerned about the escalating war with Iran and suggesting possible exit ramps per the Washington Post. So this comes out and we're like, you know, this also came out. This was old, February 28th, but Greek operated tanker with 1 million barrels of oil loaded in Saudi Arabia sailed through the strait. I believe this was before the strikes. But there is sort of this, we won't shoot down your vessels if you don't. Those two came out. Trump's reviewing the set of options came out. And then this comes out. Senior Israeli officials say Israel and the U.S. are studying the possibility of ending the war in Iran without regime change in Iran. So it's sort of, just say it's fucking over. Get out of there, pull your ladder up, and let's act like this didn't happen. Commentary. U.S. putting pressure on Israel to create an exit ramp. Make no mistake, this is U.S.-led. The short bear is someone I really like. Then this came out. I haven't actually watched this yet.
The goals of this mission are clear, and it's important to continue to remind
I don't believe that they're clear, but
the American people of why it is that the greatest military in the history of the world is engaged in this operation. It is to destroy the ability of this regime to launch missiles, both by destroying their missiles and their launchers, destroy the factories that make these missiles, and destroy their navy.
so this comes out, Marco Rubio, and we have achieved the goal, right? Then Trump comes out. It's too soon to talk about seizing Iran's oil. Also, poly-market announcement. Ships are reportedly crossing the Strait of Hormuz with vessels turning off transponders to avoid detention. So we're kind of getting like a flurry of news. Then this came out. Lebanon asked the Trump admin to broker direct peace talks with Israel. And so news. This again, a senior Israeli official says Israel and the U.S. are considering ending the war in Iran without seeking regime change. So this is starting to like come out a lot. And then we basically got the Trump taco we just covered. And so there was like sort of a setup. G7 thing first, Band-Aid. Then G7 pull back. Market didn't really pull back with it though. And then we get news. And then boom, Trump. Way ahead of schedule. Trump thinking about ending the war. Trump, everything's going great. And we've basically seen oil fall off a cliff. I mean, this thing went as high as 120. Right now, it's down 26% intraday, as low as down 32% intraday. And close was beautiful. And this is basically where we're at. SPY 278. And so this is basically where we are at. Now, the two most vocally like bullish on war, bullish on oil increase, and this is not something you can taco accounts, have basically taken identical stances. So number one is Calvin, who will be coming on stream, and he reads this. They're pulling out all the stops to undo the consequences of what they did in the financial markets. But none of the consequences have been unwound in the real world. I don't think this sticks. I'm betting big. If I'm wrong, I'm going to cash and call it a year. And so someone says, what consequences? USA markets haven't fallen in the slightest. He says oil was up 30% last night. And so basically the Calvin take is that you can try to put a Band-Aid on markets and prices, but you can't put a Band-Aid on physical infra in the real world. And so follow up from Oil GCR / Oil Centrini number 2 reads, I bought more here. You have to look at actions, not words. But too many people seem to be so distracted by the talk that they're ignoring reality. He was just spouting wishful thinking and bragging about military achievements. It's a total paradox to talk about seizing the Strait of Hormuz and installing a new leader in Iran while expecting a ceasefire. I'm going to be honest, chat. As somebody that knows practically, I don't know about knows practically nothing, but someone that is very new to geopolitics, I'm on this side 100%. That you can't just throw a Band-Aid on price action and fix the bottlenecks on the infra side. Is what that feels like. In the gully. I have no idea, but I tend to feel like this take, if everything is true about how difficult it is to pull out of the SPR, how little we have stored in the SPR, and how much of a just bottleneck problem there is in the Middle East, like how backed up we are because of the closure of the Strait. It feels like we have a multi-week, multi-month backup problem in the Middle East right now with oil that I don't think you can just, like, it feels like these things take a while to show up in production, to show up in earnings reports. Like, it feels like to actually see the physical impacts of what has happened takes more than just a 15-minute candle. Snap, 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 snap. And so am I blindly agreeing with two anonymous Twitter accounts that are self-proclaiming to be experts on Middle East policy and war? Yes. But there has just been this crazy 180 shift here of short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over. It's a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. Only fools would think differently. And so it just feels like they had a strategy. They were going with it. They were extremely determined to handle the Iran conflict the way that they wanted to handle it. Markets got spooked. Things started dumping, and rightfully so. And oil pumped too hard. And we said, what levers do we pull? And we just started clicking buttons, pulling levers. And I mean, dude, oil was $120 a barrel last night. The fact that SPY closed green 1% today is hilarious. I couldn't imagine trying to be a real bear in this market. I mean, they're driving themselves insane. Seriously, they're driving themselves fucking insane. Look at this. Here's another one for you. They did a 35% reversal on oil in the largest supply crunch in history. Flip markets minus 2.5% to 1.5%. The Epstein market. I am sort of like, I'm excited to talk to him today. I really am, and ask him questions because I mean, like he's way more knowledgeable than I am on the subject. But yeah, headline terrorism super cycle. Yeah, he's way more knowledgeable than I am on the subject. But yeah, it sort of feels like, okay, we're gonna end the war. It's like such a flip of everything that we just went through. And if this is true, and this is really where we stand, and he's right, and this is the biggest supply crunch in history, he's like a shipping expert. I'm not a fucking shipping expert. I don't know about shipping. He's got to be losing his mind right now, this Calvin fellow. I mean, you have to be, right? You got to be beating your head against the fucking wall. Because, I don't know, the market is, at the very least, really eager to react to any good news and really wants this conflict to be over. I was pretty impressed with Bitcoin's PA, but we gotta break above 70 before we could do anything meaningful here. So look, I have other topics I want to talk about. We'll talk crypto a little bit. We'll talk AI a little bit, but let's go right into the Atrioc video. I think it's a pretty good one, and just spend this whole first hour talking about oil, because that's obviously the most important thing happening in the world right now. It's the Middle Eastern conflict, and then we'll use it as a primer. We'll get straight into Calvin, and then we'll talk to him for 30 minutes, Trump speech, and then we can work backwards, AI, crypto, Hyperliquid, all of that. I'm going to get up real quick just because I'm chugging fucking water, and I'll be back in 30 seconds. When I'm back, Atrioc video, and then Calvin, who's probably like the most important account on Twitter right now. I wouldn't miss this interview if I... I mean, look, we're just getting headlines, dude. I don't feel like this is going to end, the oil thing. I know nothing about it. My balls are just telling me smoke rises after a strike on the Bapco oil refinery in Bahrain. Man, I'm like inclined to take another fucking cheeky oil long and just take a stab at it. It's pretty scary going into a Trump speech, right? It's pretty scary going into a Trump speech, but man, I'm just going to close my computer. It's scary going into a Trump speech because the market is so uncertain that it's just whipsaw on headlines back and forth. It's whipsaw on headlines back and forth. So, all right, we got Calvin in 30. We got Trump in like an hour. Big day. Every day is a big day now at this point, right? Double stream day. Let's watch the Atrioc oil video as a primer to get in the vibes and the energy for Calvin. And the vibes, a little bit of a weird thing to say. And let's get ready. This video is like 12 hours old, just a little bit outdated. Well, let's get it.
All right, listen. I've taken 2 days off from clips because I've been addicted to Slay the Spire, and I'm practicing for an Age of Empires show match. But enough stuff has happened in the world that it's dragged me back in. I have something to talk about. Now, it's Sunday night when I normally don't stream, and we're already seeing the Asian market. South Korea and Japan are triggering circuit breakers as they sink 8% plus. We're seeing huge panic in the Asian markets.
By the way, Korea Open today is going to be a fucking electric.
Which means likely by the time you see this clip or you're looking at the stock market on Monday, we're in a down day, we're in a red day. And even looking as a few days ago as a signal, the Dow just had its worst week since April for 2 reasons that I blacked out. Now I know you guys are panicking because we're all worried about the Dow. Here in America, the only thing that matters is the Dow. We don't care about arresting pedophiles.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7.
By the way, this is generational top, right? I can't believe we didn't short this. DJI, what is that? Dow Industrial. It might never go above 50,000 again. Oh, it might never go above 50K again.
7,000.
All right. Now, there's two major reasons that we're seeing all this chaos and tumult. And I'm gonna go through both of them, but it may be a secret third reason, which is the Pam Bondi curse, because the moment she said this, the Dow went under 50,000 and has been in free
You
fall.
called it. I know. It's like,
Okay, it's been absolute free fall from that moment. That was the peak. She top ticked it, actually. But the two actual reasons are pretty simple. Jobs and oil. Which one are you talking about first? All right, we're starting with jobs. Jobs! Okay, there's been a pattern when we cover jobs reports here in the United States. I've covered almost every one on this channel, and there's a pattern. First, the jobs report comes out. Let's use last month. Let's use January's as an example. The jobs report comes out, and everyone's like, holy shit, it's actually good? Wait a minute. They always say stronger than expected. They always say a surprise surge. The labor market's finally turning around. They always go, oh my God, we're hiring is the photo. Wait, things are looking up. Then the Department of Labor comes out because it's become politicized and says January job growth shattered expectations. The Trump economy is delivering for Americans. By the way, the Labor Department never used to talk like this. Supposed to be an apolitical. Anyway, they say, oh my God, everything's looking great. Then all the news media backs it up. Trump gets a spot of good news from delayed January jobs report. It smashes expectations. Payrolls grow by 130,000. And they always bury in there that, well, okay, this report is great, but it also includes revisions to the last report we said was great. And those are way less. And so every single time I have to make a video usually like this. Like this is what I said last time. Layoffs regularly. So
quick pause, couple announcements, couple tweets. I'm just going to keep pausing going back and forth. U.S. Secretary Wright says we are talking about coordinating releases from Strategic Petroleum. Any reaction? I got to get better at memorizing these fucking... No. Down. Doesn't care. And then what was the other one that just came out? I guess that's the only one. Oh, this. Could be see you later. Yeah, thank you, Malcolm. Russia says President Trump called Russian President Putin to discuss ending wars in Iran and Ukraine. The call reportedly lasted 1 hour. This Trump speech is going to be cinema.
Please do not believe the fucking headline here that everything's bad. I mean, nobody believes it anymore. No one believes it. And especially because they said we're not going to release the numbers, and they did release the numbers, and then there's something good. It all feels very massaged. But even the massage numbers show rising unemployment, only a few sectors of growth, and overall deterioration. So this has been a theme over and over and over. And I say these key principles, just like, hey, the headline number might be good, but very likely it's getting revised down. And the few areas that are still growing are hospitality and healthcare. Everything else is shrinking. So even if you trust these numbers, they're not so good. And this number is going to keep ticking up. I say the unemployment number. That's what I've been saying. And this is not some miracle prediction, because you see the orange here is when it's revised down.
It's oil.
The blue
It's
here is when
oil. I just
revised
care
up.
about oil.
You'll notice it's just been non-stop downward revisions for like 3 years straight. Like if the roulette wheel is red every time and I say it's going to be red, it's not some miracle, dude. It's just that you're seeing over and over again, they keep revising it down. By the way, though, this spot right here is when I made slowly all at once. And we're seeing downward, downward, downward. Now look at the last times we've seen consistent downward revisions in a row. 2020, 2007, 2001. 3 recessions. 3 recessions were the last time we saw in a row downward, 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 downward revisions. But the important thing about this jobs report is that it bucks this trend. Instead of being a good headline number that later gets revised down, this one actually made me worry. This one actually kind of broke the system. This actually feels like holy shit, because this one was bad right away.
It's just
this
bad.
One started
it's
bad.
actually bad.
This
If only you knew how bad it actually
the headline
is.
number is 92,000 jobs down.
Not
unexpected.
great.
Unexpected. All the headlines were like, this is so unexpected, so crazy.
They couldn't so bad they couldn't lie about this
scarier
one.
Is that, at the very least, I thought, well, at least healthcare is growing. At least you can get a job on the new Scrubs reboot. If that show can't die, the healthcare industry is still a place where you can get jobs. However, even that finally cracked. Healthcare jobs have carried the U.S. labor market for more than a year. However, in this one, healthcare and education jobs fell.
So Fed should cut rates, but Fed can't cut rates because we're dealing with this oil ripping CPI because we have this conflict in Iran that seemingly has no end in sight. And so the only thing you can do is put Band-Aid headlines to try to taco the growth of oil and send it back down. But what if there's actually a supply bottleneck crisis that can't keep it down for long? That is the situation we found ourselves in. Exactly.
Time, even that last pillar kind of holding up
exactly
the non-AI sector of the economy from growing cracked. So this is a horrible jobs report. And, despite not really being shocking based on what we've been saying in previous jobs reports videos, the overall media consensus is that this is a shockingly bad jobs report, especially for the first pass, because it likely will get revised down further from here, which means they're going to take a negative 88K number and make it worse. We're in uncharted territory. By the way, it also included revisions for those last jobs report we talked about. Both January and December got revised down. Okay? This overall was one of the worst job reports I've seen. And you can clearly see when you zoom out that we're seeing a massive, massive, massive deceleration in the labor market. We're in a spotty, bad area. From here, if it were to get worse, that's unemployment that is chaos levels.
What does it mean to Taco? Taco is Trump always chickens out. So Trump says some crazy shit. Markets either pump or dump, and then markets dump, and then he backs out, and then we rip. It's like tariffs. Tariffs in April.
America. However, that's a tough challenge. Thankfully, though, that's the only major challenge facing the American economy right now. There's nothing else that could be an exogenous shock to cause anything to get worse. Thankfully, this is the only problem we have to worry about, because it would really suck if something else happened. If that happened, then we'd have to talk about oil, which is the second reason I'm sort of waking up to panicking. Second reason I'm talking about serious problems facing the American economy in 2026. Let's talk about oil. Now, a couple things we need to explain about oil before we move on. Oil is priced in barrels and sent around the world. And based on the price of
I really think we've probably covered all of this more in depth than he has, but it's a pretty good primer to set up for this interview. But if you don't want me to watch this, let me know. But I think it's a good video. I know a lot of people have watched this. It's a pretty good summary of everything that's happened. Even though I already gave one, it's like, what's more interesting than oil right now?
barrel of oil, you can estimate certain things about how people in the economy will be feeling, because most economies run on oil. Almost all major economies run on oil right now. If the price of a barrel of oil is between $40 and $60, smiley face, people are feeling good. Okay,
Gas is
cheap, fertilizer is cheap, plastics are cheap. Things are feeling, it's a stimulant for the economy. People just feel better.
New White House edit just dropped. They're live right now? No.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like.
The war is almost over, he said. We're done bombing Iran, we said. I hate... Actually, I'm going to just shut the fuck up.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like.
Bro. I'm sorry, but what the fuck are you guys doing? I mean, what the fuck are you guys thinking? Talking about de-escalation and we're done. The war is almost over. I mean, what the fuck, man? President Trump was elected to bring common sense back to energy. Next post.
Here comes the,
I mean, guys. Oh. This was a crazy post, by the way, since we're at it. I just spoke with the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese of Australia, concerning the Iranian national women's soccer team. He's on it. Wait, was that the original post? Yeah, this was the first post. Australia's making a terrible humanitarian mistake by allowing the Iran national women's soccer team to be forced back to Iran. Well, they will most likely be killed. Don't do it, Mr. Prime Minister. The U.S. will take them if you won't. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Man. Okay, so how are you making Here Comes the Boom and then you're posting this? These two things don't go together. Iran foreign minister on state TV. Some countries, including China, Russia, and France, have contacted Iran regarding a ceasefire. Our first condition for a ceasefire is no... Okay, so Iran says our first condition for a ceasefire is no further aggression. Meanwhile, the U.S. Twitter account, bruh. Iran, no further aggression. U.S. Bro, it's just like, dude, no one is serious about anything. Nothing is taken seriously about anything. I mean, come on, man.
Things move smooth. It's big smiles. If a price of a barrel of oil gets to, by the way, this is where we've been. This area, maybe around 60, 65, but this is the area we've been in for the past few months, and it's helped cushion the blow of other economic problems. If the price of a barrel of oil gets up to 70 or 80, that's a warning. Now, this is a really good spot for oil companies. They love this spot because people grumble about it, people are angry about it, but it doesn't really cause too much political backlash, too much damage, and they get a lot of profit. Oil companies love this because nobody gets too mad at them, but they're still making money. So they prefer not to be here, but this is survivable. It's just annoying. If it gets to $100 or more, that is panic. That is when gas prices start to become really pinching for the average person, along with a whole bunch of other knock-on effects we'll get into. $100 per barrel is a panic. And if you don't like hearing it from me, because I'm an ugly streamer, and you want to hear from a famous professional actor, all right, well, I got the show Landman for you.
Well, you want oil to live above 60 but below 90. And don't get me wrong, we're still printing money at 90, but gas gets up over $3.50 a gallon, it starts to pinch. It hits 100, every product in America
What is this from?
has to readjust its price.
So what could possibly be happening that would cause us to be talking about crazy things, outlandish things, like $100 a barrel oil? Well, it turns out this war in Iran has had some knock-on effects on
Landman.
the oil market, specifically regarding this little band of land called the Strait of Hormuz. We've talked about it before, but it is becoming very, very much in play. Now, this video will show you what has happened to tanker traffic, because I want you to understand, 20% of the world's oil goes from all of these countries.
I feel like we are actually like peak coverage of everything happening in the world right now, just for the record.
Into this Gulf, and then it gets on tankers, goes to this tiny little gap, and it goes out into the world. So much oil goes out here.
20%.
This is tanker traffic in the past few days.
20,
very, very active, slowing down, skirting the edges, and then basically non-existent. Then basically a crawl. The oil is no longer flowing, which is going to have many, many, many knock-on effects, okay? Now there's still, again, as the oil price rises, all the tankers stuck in here really have an incentive to try to get out. It's very profitable to get out, and being stuck here is also losing them a lot of money. So a few of them do try to run it. For example,
the stream is underviewed. We'll
ship
get there.
Turned off its transponder at midnight and went for it to avoid getting struck. A few people are.
This is happening, by the way. They're just turning off. I think this might be the Greece ship. They're turning off their transponders and just going.
Trying to do it. And because Iran has said they won't strike China as free passage. They said China is our ally and China can go through. However, Chinese ships are still not going through because they can't get insured. They're too scared to do it because if they do get struck, it's billions and billions lost.
I think they've since said China's allowed through.
They are all stuck in the strait. However, it hasn't stopped other less safety-minded tankers from pretending to be Chinese. Basically 10 different
That'd be the very Chinese part of my life.
vessels have declared themselves Chinese, changed their transponder, and made a run for it through the Gulf. The actual Chinese ships are again staying in the Gulf. No one, not even Beijing. The thing is, without the insurance markets functioning, no tanker will do it because the risk is so catastrophic. The amount of money you lose is so gargantuan. But a few of them are going for it as pretending to be Chinese. Again, this carrier right here, which is named the Iron Maiden and is from Japan, changed its name to China Owner. And made a break for it while hugging this side of the wall. And that is a real world thing that's happening.
Opus 4.6.
The difference between generational wealth or being dead. It's pretty wild, okay? So, I made this slide a day or two ago, and Brent crude futures had hit $93 a gallon. We were approaching the absolute danger zone. And at that time, gas prices nationwide were $3.30, 32 cents nationwide, hitting highs of above near $5 here in freaking California. Again, above $3 when it's a psychological thing where Americans start feeling really frustrated.
Forgot you're
$3.50
rich.
becomes a real
I have the
problem.
$200
However,
plan.
If you were to update this
Sonnet
6
4.6
hours
is really
ago,
good, though.
it broke 100. If you were to update it 5 minutes ago, it's like at 115. It's spiking as we speak. We're getting to really, really dangerous
I gotta get one more time. I'm back in a second,
Every
chat.
dollar
Interview
that
soon.
the oil barrel adds to
Trump about to go on
is
right now.
compounding cost
No, no,
effects.
no.
Basically, widespread inflation on a lot of different things throughout the economy. Already, again, this is a day apart. Gas prices up 10 cents from yesterday. Now they're at 345. Probably by tomorrow, we can see 350 plus. These things, for most, especially for Americans who have to drive everywhere because we have a car-focused society, or trucking-based delivery, have to buy diesel, become huge problems very quickly. Oil prices surged above $100 a barrel for the first time in 4 years. Now, the last time in recorded recent history where oil prices broke $100 a barrel was because of the Ukraine war. We're at Ukraine war levels, except we're at the very beginning and we don't have an off-ramp. We don't even know where it's going. This is like looking back to the 1970s where we had oil price shocks and an economic slowdown that led to deep, deep stagflation. 70s were one of the worst economic years for there in the middle. So it's starting to get like real. What I'm saying is we've had this theme where it's like, hey, the numbers aren't accurately reflecting how things are degrading under the surface. But now it's like, hey, the degrading has gotten to the surface and we're throwing kerosene on the fire. Like, it's starting to get bad. I don't want to undersell. The combination of a slowing economy and an oil shock is painful for people. It is like a serious problem for the American economy. And we're already seeing people complaining. Even in my subreddit, which is not about gas prices, I saw this. This guy's talking about how gas prices have risen 80 cents. Of all the things Big T is doing, this is legit the most noticeable. Again, for many Americans, every political story they can ignore. But when it hits gas prices, then they start getting real angry, bro. So there's a couple angles I can talk about this with. Obviously, there's the American angle, but I do want to mention what's interesting is the impact this is having over in China and what this means in China. So let's talk about Xi Jinping real quick. Xi Jinping,
Let me text Calvin. We gotta watch this right now.
A lot of friends. Sit down. We have a little time. Just everybody. Thank you very much. And our great speaker, Speaker Johnson. And hello to the men and women of one of the most consequential Republican majorities in history. It's not a big majority, but it's just about the most consequential. The job you've done is incredible. And they are members
Elliot, fix the title if you can.
And really
on YouTube.
People that are for the American people, and that's why you're doing well, and I think that's why we're going to continue to do well. We're fighting a little tradition, you know. Historically, the person that wins, Democrat or Republican, wins the presidency. For whatever reason, it doesn't work out, but we've done a lot. I don't know. I think we've done.
All right, lock the fuck in, guys.
Year of any
Pull up charts, too.
ever, and that includes you. You came along with me, and you made it happen.
And I guess I could like
so with your
split
help
screen
and
this.
hard work, we're making America great again, and we're doing it much faster than we thought, and it's better, stronger, and our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody
split
thought.
screen?
We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil, and I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good. Short term. Short term. Thank you. They're great. You know, we all together, in my first term, we rebuilt our military. And I didn't know I'd be using it so much in the second term, but we have a military like no other. It's not even close. But I especially want to recognize the rest of our amazing House Republican leadership team and so many of my friends that are congressmen, some senators. We have some great people in this room.
Let's go.
But including Majority Leader, a real brave guy, because I know the real story. I was there that night with him in the hospital when he was given a very small chance of living by a doctor who was very good, by a wife who was desperately in love with him. She cried so much. Because I've seen the other two. I've seen guys at the end of the line, the wives aren't exactly shaken up.
What?
When they don't cry, when they have no tears or any sign of tears, this is not a good sign of a great marriage.
What?
But he must have a great marriage because she was.
Who's he talking about?
Devastated. She was going to lose her guy. But it worked out that The doctor said more blood was put into him than he's ever seen. He was in big trouble. I looked at him that night and I said goodbye to him, but he made it. He was brave, and look at the way he fought back from so many different things. Steve Scalise.
Oil up on that news.
Yeah, we have another one, Tom Emmer, who I really got to know over the last few years, and I'll tell you, he's a winner.
We're in the middle of war, and he's talking about
great
fucking
wife. We got good wives up in there. Let's say great wife, fine husband. But Tom is just a real champion and a winner, and you have a problem, you go to him, he gets it solved. So thank you very much. Great job. You've done a great job.
Anything but the oil crisis.
Chairwoman is Lisa McLean, and we all know Lisa.
Anything but the crisis going on right now in our country.
Very bad experience. Thank you very much.
It's
Great
like a
job.
fucking
Great job.
stand-up comedy.
And a very special thanks. You know, you broke a record. This is over 20 million. This is it's the biggest of these type of events that there's ever been by a lot. You know, you didn't just break it; you broke it by a lot. So I want to congratulate you. But there's just great spirit. The Republican Party has fantastic spirit. The level, I don't think, has been seen before.
This is your first Trump
really
speech.
don't.
Welcome, by the way.
We have to get a couple of people on board, which, you know, at least one case is virtually impossible. I wonder who that might be. A sick person. But I want to say a very special thanks to everyone at the Congressional Institute for helping organize this event. This has been amazing.
Dude.
And over the past 9 days, we've been reminded of how vital our Republican majorities are. And it's, you know, it's America's future. We're really fighting because these people, you saw the other night at the State of the Union, you saw these people. They wouldn't stand for a mother who just lost her daughter by having her throat slit from behind. They wouldn't stand for the helicopter pilot who just got the Congressional Medal of Honor for landing safely in Venezuela, a helicopter with a lot of soldiers on that helicopter. And he was able to land it safely, and his leg was practically ripped off. And for those people that know about helicopters, you land them pretty much with your legs, right, Tom? You land them with the legs, and he was in bad shape, and he got it. He got that. Not only landed, he landed at
Powerful
exactly
explosion, jets
the
overheard
right
in Tehran
spot at exactly
at this exact moment.
as blood was pouring down the aisle, which didn't make all of those soldiers in the back feel too good. They're looking at a pilot who's bleeding out. But they didn't want to stand for that.
It'll be a short-term excursion. Trump repeats short-term twice.
A 100-year-old soldier who had left a legacy of bravery. Everybody talked about it for years, and it was time for him to get
be a
the
long speech,
Congressional
guys.
Medal of Honor. They didn't want to stand for him. There's something wrong with those people, and we can't let them ever be in a position where they can lead this country again or destroy this country.
I don't even know what he's talking
because
about.
we
Who's
almost
he
lost
talking
this
about?
country. This country was close to being lost. The representatives in this room provided the pivotal votes in securing a record $1 trillion for the United States military this year, and now the
good for
world is
Palantir, right?
witnessing the importance of that investment with one of the most complex and stunning operations ever conducted.
Most
and that's
complex and stunning.
Operation Epic Fury. That's a great name, isn't it? Epic Fury.
Oh my God, dude. So
That's
name
even better than
physiognomy.
Midnight Hammer, which was pretty good too. Right?
Oh my
That was
God, he's talking
where
about the
we knocked
fucking
out
name.
their, nuclear potential. That was a big day
Dude.
because if we didn't do that, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks, and I think we'd be in a lot different situation. And then you had,
Dude.
of course, what they did in Venezuela. How that was just so far so good.
This is my favorite thesis, by the way. Is he was so excited about Venezuela, we went straight to
You
Iran.
look at,
He keeps talking about
Afghanistan
Venezuela.
with Biden. One of the worst, I think, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. If you look at what happened with Jimmy Carter, also with Iran, but if you look at what happened with the helicopters and the hostages, it cost them the election. It was what a mess. The world respects us right now more than they have ever respected us before.
Is that true? Do we believe that?
And because of Republicans, you people in Congress, the United States has by far the strongest and most powerful military on the face of the earth. We're the strongest military anywhere in the earth, and now everybody understands it. Together with our Israeli partners, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's
no one knows
all
how many
lying
drones
at the
they
bottom
have.
of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, "What quality of ship?" "Excellent, sir. Top of the line." I said, "Why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them?" They said, "It's more fun to sink them." I said, "That's not." They like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess
dude.
it's probably
Stop.
true.
Actually, stop.
But think of it,
Dude.
we knocked out 46.
Is he
It
trolling?
actually took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone.
I can't
We're
believe you
counting
said that.
down the minutes until
I
they
can't believe you just said that.
will be gone. Think of it. We had leaders, and they're gone. Then we had new leaders, and
Oh
they're
my
gone. And now
God.
nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country, and will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively
Did
defeated.
you say it's more fun to sink
As-
them?
And remember, Iran did so many bad things. They were really, if you look at Soleimani, who was taken out, as you know that, but you know who. But if you look at Soleimani, the father of the roadside, you call it a roadside bomb because most people don't understand the different terms. It was where they plant bombs in roads as you drive by, happily drive by, the bomb goes off, and no matter how strong the armament, it just kills the people. Or you lose your arms, legs, and face. And those bombs got worse and worse, and he got happier and happier, and we took him out. That was a big thing because he was the head. It might have been a much different story. They may have been much more capable than they are had he lived, because he was capable. He was vicious, violent, and capable.
Imagine
We got
reading the
rid of him
transcript to this with no
first term.
context.
And we did so many things. I mean, we've done so many things, but as you know, on Saturday I traveled to Dover Air Force Base to be with the families of 6 fallen warriors as they returned to American soil.
Rest in peace.
And I know that everyone in this room joins me in sending our prayers and eternal gratitude to
Rest
the
in peace.
families of those great heroes. Those families are incredible families. Devastating to be. Hardest thing to do. You know, I've done it a lot. The hardest thing to do is to go to Dover, because Dover is where, for the most part, a lot of the fallen, the warriors, the great young people that have died in war, they seem
You think
to
he has notes, or he's just fully
mostly go to
freestyling?
Dover. They come home to Dover.
You have transcript
Dover
or no?
does a great job of
What do they call
handling
it?
things. They have men
Teleprompter?
assigned to the family. They have men and women that are incredible, assigned to the families. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also a very sad thing. But they all said one thing to me: "Make sure you win, sir. Make sure you win." They weren't playing games. They want to make sure. They said it. Everybody said it. They were separate, but everybody said the same thing: "Make sure you win." We will. We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory that will end this long-running danger once and for all. 47 years. It should have been done a long time ago. The world would have been a different place had some president had the courage to go and do it. They should have done it many, many times. They had many opportunities. The United States of America is the greatest and most exceptional nation in human history, and will not be threatened by evil terrorists and lunatics any longer. We just can't do that. And, you know, when I always talk about how great our nation is, I don't know. I don't consider our nation very great for 4 years under Biden. We were a laughingstock all over the world.
I don't want to talk about Biden. I wanna
We
talk
were a
about
laughingstock. So, you know, I say great, 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 but I don't know.
Whenever it says
When you
Biden,
look at
oil,
what
like,
happened
starts to
with
leg
so
up.
many different things. The open border, 25 million people, many of them very bad people pouring into our country with open borders that just said, come on in, makes no difference. They emptied their jails into our country. 11,888 murders, 50% of which murdered more than one person. The drug dealers came in, the mentally insane came in, they emptied their mental institutions, they emptied their insane asylum. That's a step above a mental institution. They emptied them all right into our country. And we've done a great job of doing what we've done. Think of it, we have the lowest crime rate that we've ever had.
I want to hear
the
what he
lowest
wants.
murder rate in 125 years. And
Please,
we're
Trump.
saddled with all
Hail
of the
join crypto.
problems of the criminals that were let in. You know, look, they're smart people. I know the people that run those countries, every one of them. And they're all streetwise, very smart. And I would do exactly the same thing. They emptied their jails into our country. I said that was going to happen when I heard that they were having open borders. I didn't believe that they were going to have it. When I realized that they actually were going to have open borders, I said, we're going to have every person in jail. We're going to have every drug dealer. We're going to have all these countries all over the world. The Congo, they emptied their jails all the way from the Congo to all parts of South America, Asia. They sent in their people in jail, murderers. Some of the worst people on earth got sent into our country. And I'll tell you what, ICE is unbelievable, what they have to put up with and how tough they have to be. That goes for Border Patrol, and it goes for law enforcement, our law enforcement people. But sadly, even as our service members are fighting bravely to protect America abroad, the Democrat minority in Congress is deliberately sabotaging our national security at home. And you're going through it right now, fellas. I mean, you're going through, it's not even believable. You know, we should be very safe right now, especially when we're attacking somebody that's evil, bad intention. But last week, 53 House Democrats voted against a resolution affirming that Iran remains the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Who the hell would do that? I mean, almost every act, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, no matter what, you take a look, it's Iran or Iran sponsored. And even more outrageously, as we speak, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They've got it shut down. Do you believe it? Right now. Because they care more about amnesty for illegal alien criminals than about protecting the lives of American citizens. I mean, take a look at it. The American citizen is being scoffed at by Democrats. It doesn't make sense. None of this stuff makes sense to me, you know, when they sat and they wouldn't stand up for incredible people. They just refused to clap, stand up. By the end of the speech, by the way, they were all standing because somebody was passing them. No, you people are getting killed tonight. They were all, they'd stand up for everything I was saying. At the end, that last half hour, they were standing up for things that they shouldn't have stood up for. Because they got the word, you're getting killed tonight. Stand up and clap for the woman that just lost her daughter, please, to a violent criminal. But Democrats must vote immediately to reopen the Department of Homeland Security so that we have the resources.
Back to the Democrat thing real quick.
And under our pro-America, pro-worker, pro-family agenda, our country is winning again and America is respected again. And I think we have a country that's as hot as it's ever been, ever before, maybe hotter. And I say it all the time. The king of Saudi Arabia said it to me better than anybody could say it.
Calvin's coming.
He's ready. With him very well, very smart.
Should we switch off of Trump?
He said, you know, a year and a half ago, your country was dead. Absolutely dead.
Should we switch off of Trump?
We never thought it was coming back. And now you have the hottest country anywhere
What does
in the
Ape would
world.
think?
It's true. We're the hottest country
He's just
anywhere in the
yapping.
world,
All right, Dean,
by
I've told him
far.
2 minutes.
And that's before we showed off our military strength.
All right, I'll be right back. 2 minutes. We have the shipping
Venezuela
expert
now
come.
with Iran. You know, Iran was supposed to be this big, powerful country. We wrapped the hell out of them. And, you know, I don't know when they cry uncle, but they should have cried it 2 days ago, right? But they don't have anything left. In our country, inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising. The economy is surging. Our border is the most secure at any time in American history. And the murder rate is the lowest in 125 years. That's before my father was born. My father was born 6 years later than that. I don't know if he'd like me to say that. Never liked to talk about his age. He said, don't talk about that. But think about 125 years ago, 1900, the year 1900. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. And it's going to go a lot higher. As soon as we get rid of this stuff that we're doing right now that we really had no choice. I mean, I think I asked people, I said, would you rather do this or would you rather go along nice and smoothly?
Let's go.
But eventually have a catastrophe the likes of which perhaps
Let's go.
the world has
Let's go.
never seen. And
Let's
just
go.
about everybody says, except for lunatics, that no, you had to get it
We're
done.
done. We're done.
Should-
We're done with that. All right, here we go. We have, let me make sure he's in. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. I'm actually hyped. I didn't think he was gonna ghost me. I didn't think he was gonna come. Live with at Calvin in 2 minutes. Twitch.tv/. Okay, this is Shipping Oil. Pause. Yeah, nice one. This is Shipping Oil GCR himself. I think we have replaced GCR with Citrini, by the way. This is Shipping Citrini. And his most recent take on the situation reads as such. They are pulling out all the stops to undo the consequences of what they did in the financial markets. But none of the consequences have been unwound in the real world. I don't think this sticks. I am betting big. If I'm wrong, I'm going to cash and call it a year. This is probably the biggest oil bull and biggest U.S. doomer, or maybe like war escalation increaser on the TR right now. He's probably number one. Number two, worth a follow, is this crude oil 231 fellow. I got a lot of questions for him. I have a lot to ask, and I think if we're going to get real takes, especially around supply chain, Strait of Hormuz, everything with oil, this is our guy. So I've never heard, I heard him talk on Spaces. He's kind of wild. If you're watching on Twitter or YouTube and you would like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. Or if not, you can stay where you are. Let me just like stall for a second so I can let him get in and get dialed. Producer Luke is out today. Trump says we've gotten rid of 80% of Iran's missile sites. Something like this. All right, give him a second. We'll be in shortly. I'm trying to get Oil Citrini number 2 on as well. He's a little bit tougher, but Calvin also had a tweet. I'll just read it for you while we wait. That was a little bit of a scary one. It reads, and I quote, "Pain is coming. You are all whistling past the graveyard." You should get Bloomberg Terminal. My stream's basically become Bloomberg Terminal at this point, for being super honest. All right. He's in. He's ready to go. I'm excited. Let's fucking go. If you watch on Twitter, YouTube, you would like to chat, twitch.tv/threadguy. Let's fucking get it, baby. Yo, yo.
Hi.
Let me make sure we're good here. And boom, we're live. Mr. Calvin, welcome to the stream, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you. How are you?
Same to you. Well, to be honest, it was kind of a volatile trading day.
Yes.
Probably one of my worst days in a few years.
First of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I was following, obviously, everything that's happening today, and I wasn't sure if you were going to still make it on the stream, but you did conclude with a incredible tweet that I'm going to read back to you, and I kind of want you to start here. And your tweet reads, "They're pulling out all the stops to undo the consequences of what they did in the financial markets, but none of the consequences have been unwound in the real world. I don't think this sticks. I'm betting big. If I'm wrong, I'm going to cash and calling it a year."
Yeah. So basically, the way this started is they're doing these negotiations with the Iranians, and it's Witkoff and Kushner, who's basically Trump's real estate buddy and Trump's son-in-law. Okay, and what are their first of all, credentials to represent the United States in diplomatic negotiations? I don't think that they have any other than being close to Trump and being aligned with a certain other foreign country. But anyway, they're the guys. And then, Kamini's in his house. These other guys are sitting down to discuss, the proposals and where they're going next in negotiations. And the U.S. basically just blows everybody up, along with Israel, preemptively, which doesn't seem very diplomatic. And then, Kamini's son now has taken over as the supreme leader of Iran. Yes. So we basically just killed the guy's whole family, and now our expectation is that this guy is going to play along because Trump doesn't like seeing oil up 30% overnight. It seems kind of ridiculous, So, look, if we can turn the Iranian skyline in Tehran into acid black rain, and the Iranians aren't going to fight us over that, then I don't know shit about the world. And yeah, I'll just take a break for the rest of the year. But I look at infrastructure, I look at shipping, I look at the oil markets, and what I'm seeing is that you've basically already had a lot of disruption in the real world.
Yes.
Like you've had, pipelines blown up, you've had refineries blown up, you've had storage tanks blown up. Yes. Like just this morning, Fujairah, which is the third largest bunkering port in the world, meaning that's where they load ships with fuel and refined product to carry the products around. It got hit this morning, right? So while Trump's saying it's all over and we won, the shipping guys are like, where the hell am I going to get fuel for this ship? So, the narrative is like the Strait of Hormuz is open, but the reality is there are almost no transits. And then I see everybody sharing these fake charts on how many ballistic missiles Iran is launching. And yes. I'm, talking to guys I know in Dubai, and they're like, I can see the missiles. They've launched more missiles at us today than they say they launched in total on that chart. So to me, it's like, this thing happened that was really consequential, and maybe their expectation was that, okay, well, we kill everybody, they're just going to roll over, and they're just going to accept that we're the greatest, and that we'll kill them all if they don't just do what we want, right? But they didn't do that, and they started blowing up all this stuff that's really important to the world economy: fertilizer, oil, chemicals, fuels, right? These things are really important. Yeah. Our civilization comes to a halt without those things, right? And they blew those things up, and they can keep blowing those things up. I mean, what is the incentive for a guy who just had his entire family murdered to negotiate? Why would you? This is the second time we've done this. We did this in the 12-Day War. We did this, this time around. We've basically betrayed any notion of good faith diplomacy, twice now. Why would they negotiate with us?
So you've been tweeting a lot about the incorrect missile charts as well, and I found it so difficult to decipher what is actually real and fake on Twitter. We're sort of on the bleeding edge. News is coming in. What's a real headline? What's a fake headline? Go ahead.
Okay, so there are these charts going around showing like the trajectory of Iranian missiles, and it's basically gone into this downward slope to zero.
Yes.
So the claim is right now, it's in these charts that are floating around, that the Iranians have not launched any missiles for days. I mean, there are cluster warheads falling in Tel Aviv right now. The U.S. has 8 to 10 THAAD batteries in the world. These are like long-range radar and interception systems for ballistic missiles. 4 of them were destroyed in the Middle East in the past week. Okay? Like, I'm seeing these updates all day long about refineries being struck, about oil storage being struck, pipelines being struck, failed attacks, intercepted attacks, stuff falling in the ocean. A guy from the UAE said, look, there were 17 ballistic missile attacks on Dubai just today.
Jesus.
The chart that everybody's saying says that there weren't any attacks launched at all today. Right. So to me, like, look, I don't sympathize with the Iranian cause and anything beyond if somebody was in my country blowing up schools and turning the capital city into acid rain, that seems pretty terrible to me, right? So it's just this disconnect from reality where words are one thing and actions are completely different. And the actions that the United States has committed so far are disastrous for the global economy. I mean, even just what has been done already. I'm not talking about what will be done, what people are afraid of could be done, but what has already happened. We're talking about Kuwait right now, which is one of the leading members of OPEC, is producing no oil. Iraq, one of the leading members of OPEC, is producing almost no oil. Saudi Arabia, their production is down significantly. They're sending what they can to the Red Sea via a pipeline, but that's only 25% of what their normal production capacity would be.
Yeah.
Right. So these are, other than the United States and Russia, these are the largest oil producing countries in the world. And their production is effectively not only shut in, but shut down right now. If the Strait opened tomorrow, it would still take months to repair some of the damage that's already been done. And that's the disconnect. The disconnect is that, Trump wants cheap oil, right? Trump wants everything.
Yes.
He wants it to be free, right? He wants markets to be high.
Yep.
And he wants to be able to kill whoever he wants, bomb whoever he wants with no consequences. Look, man, I voted for Trump. All right. Like he's like, I'm going to stop the wars, right? Like we're going to investigate the Epstein files. Turns out he and his cabinet were basically the Epstein file MVPs. So that's kind of where we're at,
Can you, because you're obviously super deep on the nuances of oil and shipping and how these industries work, can you explain to me why or how there is such a disconnect between the infra side and the damage that's already been done versus Trump being able to come out, pop open a couple headlines, and then oil is back well below $100 at the snap of a finger? How can those two things be so different?
Well, I think the answer to that question is that we have manipulated markets. I mean, Trump ran a casino early in his career. I think he's running a casino now. I don't think that they're real. Maybe Brent is more real. But yeah, I think that they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, they had Jim Cramer, say there's no chance to peace last night, right? And then they talked about, we're gonna, release from the SPR. They were talking last Thursday about the Treasury directly shorting crude futures, which is, when you think about it, I mean, that's absolutely insane. I mean, that's Soviet
nuts.
level intervention in markets. You might as well not have markets at that point.
That was a ridiculous headline, huh?
Disconnect. Well, the disconnect is basically just that the headlines don't reflect reality, and Trump can say whatever he wants, but the Iranians have a say in that as well. If Trump stops bombing, then that, I think that's what the Iranians said is their first condition for stopping aggression. But in the last hour before we started talking, after Trump's headlines, the Iranians hit another a refinery again in Bahrain, 260,000 barrels a day.
By the way, this is a complete side note, but you really think Cramer is compromised?
I mean, come on. He's become this meme, right? Where people do the opposite of everything that he said. And it's almost become like a Pavlovian type reaction, right? I mean, you whistle and the dog comes. They know what they're doing, right? I mean, he is an agent. He's an agent of misinformation and manipulation. I mean, you think that the Saudis and the Emiratis are still going to put trillions of dollars into data centers after their economies just got obliterated? I mean,
this is actually a very interesting perspective. We didn't even get here. Impact on the AI infra build out and like the Middle East activity in U.S. markets. Like, does that change after what's just happened?
Well, look, what is AI? Okay, AI is energy turned into something useful via software and computing infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay, you need energy for that. Yes. What's the main source of energy in the world? Oil. What's number 2? Natural gas. Okay, so you need natural gas to run the data centers. By the way, they hit data centers in the Middle East. Amazon data centers. Amazon put out press releases about their data centers being impacted. You might have seen that. Okay, so even in the Middle East, they're hitting the data centers. But all of these data centers around the world, they require energy. Guess what happens if the cost of energy goes parabolic? Those data centers become even less economic than they already were. I mean, OpenAI was already like the white whale for Microsoft. It's already losing tons of money. Like, we're supposed to believe that our entire economy hinges on this, huge AI investment, and somehow this is going to bring us to the promised land. But we have no idea how we're going to deal with all the people that are unemployed now, or how we're going to deal with all of the people who are on fixed incomes, and now there's no who's going to pay that income tax that's supporting those people on Social Security. How are you going to pay for the inflation increases in Social Security? It's like, AI is the answer. AI requires a lot of energy, so energy has to be cheap. But we don't know what all these people that aren't needed in the economy anymore are going to do. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's just logically inconsistent.
It's a very interesting take. And I guess going back to some of the oil stuff is like, okay, say hypothetically Iran were to come out today and said, all right, we're done, ceasefire, the strait is opened back up. How severe is the supply constraint bottleneck that's already been caused on oil transportation?
I think that you see disruptions for months.
Wow.
No, right now, to be clear, the disruption is like, let's say, anywhere from 75 to 95%. Okay.
Whoa,
and that's the disruption on oil, on natural gas, on fertilizer, on aluminum. Like, there's a lot of different. Aluminum is really important for the data centers as well. That's the disruption right now. If everything went back to normal tomorrow, well, Ras Tanura, the largest refinery in the Middle East, it got hit. Okay, so there's repair that needs to be done at Ras Tanura. Ras Laffan, which provides 20% of the world's natural gas just from Qatar, has already undergone force majeure. They've already shut down. They require 2 weeks after their restart process starts to even get back to production, and then it's another 2 weeks after that to get back to full production. So, look, a lot of these impacts, they've already happened. It's not theoretical. It's not like, oh, it's going to be really bad if that strait's not unblocked. It is really bad. Stuff did blow up, a lot of important stuff.
So why was oil able to get back below 100 so aggressively? Is the market just praying for good news to get bailed out on? Like, theoretically, this can't hold if you're right.
Like I said, I'm not sure it's a free market. I mean, this is how a free market works versus gray markets or black markets. In a free market, prices are set by the market, by buyers and sellers. And the buyers and the sellers, they're all market participants.
Yes.
Okay. A gray market is, basically when, things get a little, a little trickier, and you start having, these other participants like, the government. I mean, is the government shorting, oil futures? I don't know. They said last week that they were considering it, right? So if you can pick one of two things when you have supply shortages, higher prices or shortages. If they don't want to have higher prices, then they're going to have shortages, because what happens next? Okay, like let's say that, 20 million barrels a day is offline from the global market. Okay, like half of the Korean chemical industry already declared force majeure, or said they were going to declare force majeure in the next week. Okay, that means that they're basically saying, our supply chain is broken. We can't produce our products anymore. We're sorry. We just, we have to break our contracts. We're done. It's almost like declaring bankruptcy, right? But on a contract. So basically, if we look at all of the countries that are reliant on the Strait of Hormuz, Japan, Korea, Bangladesh, India. I mean, the UK only has 2 days of natural gas without imports, right?
Insane.
So, yes, the global energy situation is really precarious. In 2022, when Russia-Ukraine happened, just the increases in prices caused riots and shortages all over the developing world. I mean, Sri Lanka, the government basically collapsed. People starved. Haiti, you had like literal cannibalism. In Pakistan, you had shortages. You had deaths. Like people couldn't cook food. Cooking gas shortages. So these are not theoretical impacts. These are things that we've observed that have actually happened just from prices spiking. Now, when you get actual shortages, that means that, product has to go from one place to another. So if there's no free market to set those prices, then either, people are just going to have to go without, or the usage is going to have to be rationed, which means, the government deciding, okay, you can use gas, you can't use gas, you can drive a car, you can't drive a car, right? So if you don't have a free market, then that means you need to have central authoritarian management of resources and fuel consumption. So if we're not going to have free market pricing for energy products, which, look, every single person that I follow in energy, and I've been in this, pretty much specializing on energy and shipping for about 8 years. Yeah, okay, wow. I follow people that have been in this for decades, and their reaction the entire time was, okay, oil is up, $30 a barrel from the lows. This actually is a massive underreaction to Hormuz being closed.
Damn. Damn.
So I think, if you look at the 1970s, the 1970s was the Arab oil embargo. And during the Arab oil embargo, that was basically the Persian Gulf countries, the Middle Eastern countries, just saying, like, we don't want to sell to the West anymore. Okay. We're going to sell to, we're going to sell more to the East. The market didn't, the oil didn't really leave the market. Okay. The market lose production capacity. There were other instances, like, for example, the Iranian Revolution, the Iran-Iraq War, where the market lost a few million barrels a day of production. Okay, so we're talking at the time, consumption was a bit lower than it was now. So you're talking a single-digit percentage of the production. In the 1970s, when this stuff, when some of this stuff happened, the price of oil went from like $2 a barrel up to like $40. So it was like a 20x increase, and this was in a time period when the only thing that happened was that the West lost political control of the oil market. They didn't actually lose barrels like what we're seeing now, an actual substantial loss of production.
Physical
We've
production.
never seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, think about COVID. The oil price went negative because demand fell about 10%.
Yep.
So if the oil price can go negative because demand falls 10%,
what
do you
happens
think
when,
it can do if supply drops 20%, you know?
And so we've never seen, we don't really have a hypothetical or like a past scenario to base this off of.
Well, you know, we can say that after the Iranian Revolution, I believe in 1980, you know, I'm doing all this from memory. So,
No, I won't quote you on it. Yeah.
I believe in 1980, it was like a 3x, like a 300% increase in oil. But we don't have anything of this scale. Like, you know, Russia, Ukraine, it was like, okay, there have been, you know, some sanctions. Russia might have problems getting spare parts. Like, theoretically, there could be some impacts at some point in the future, right? And the market got so worried about that that oil, you know, went in, more than it just went now, right? Like, I think it like peaked out at around 140. So like, you know, spiked up intraday or something. So oil went higher then than it is now, and that was with no production loss. So right now we've got this, you know, situation where we actually lost production. And then, you know, if you look at kind of the entire value chain, people use oil and natural gas as energy sources and feedstocks to create other things, right? So for example, fertilizer, like 50% of the world's fertilizer either comes from the Middle East or is derived from feedstock or energy from the Middle East. Like, the estimate right now is that up to 50% of the entire ammonium nitrate fertilizer market could be offline. So, you know, there's already reports out about how certain countries won't have enough fertilizer for their spring planting. And this just happened, right? I mean, if you take 50% of fertilizer out of the market, like, you know, the civilization has a couple essential building blocks, right? Essentially, energy, fertilizer, concrete, and steel.
Energy, fertilizer, concrete, and steel.
Yeah, those are the that's Vaclav Smil, How Things Really Work. That's a great book. Okay. If any of your listeners would want to read that book. But you know, energy is the primary input for all of the rest of those. It takes a lot of energy to make steel. It takes a lot of energy to make concrete. It takes a lot of energy to make fertilizer. You know, energy is the first part of almost every single commercial value chain. So you take energy out, and you know, you make it more expensive, you make it rarer, you get, you know, like, even if they say, you know, okay, well, we're just not going to let oil go above $90. $90 is the cap. If oil goes above $90, we're just going to short oil. You know, we're going to make sure it never goes above $90. Well, if they do that, then, you know, what does that mean? It means that, you know, companies that might have otherwise been incentivized to invest in that value chain, you know, they're not going to drill that well. You know, they're not gonna, you know, buy that new acreage. They're not going to do those capex upgrades because, you know, if the government's already gone, you know, socialist here, I mean, you know, who knows what they're going to do next? Maybe they're going to get nationalized, right? Maybe their production will get nationalized. So people start getting really wary as soon as you have these government interventions, right? And that's really the precarious position that Trump is putting us in by being so interventionist. Is it inhibits the ability of the free market to respond to market forces. I mean, a supply loss is the proper response to a supply loss in a market economy is higher prices. That is like absolute basic tenet of economics. Supply demand. If you don't have supply demand anymore, you don't have a market economy.
Okay, on the free market topic, let's just like speculate for a second. Hypothetical. How would hypothetically the US government and or allied entities manipulate these markets? Like, what could they be doing and how does it end?
They said they were gonna, you know, short futures.
Has that ever happened before? Similar comments like that ever happened before?
Shorting futures in the U.S. oil market, I'm not aware of that ever happening. Okay, but how it could theoretically happen is, basically they could just sell front month contracts with, basically money out of thin air. And so that would, obviously that would show up somewhere, on the income statement, on the balance sheet. But they could short front month contracts and then basically just not deliver and pay out instead, right? Because the futures market is actually in the United States, the futures market's physically settled. So you have some people that are, that are basically like every contract represents actual physical oil barrels. So some people are buying, other people are selling. And what the government could do is say, well, we're going to have special rules that are just for us, and we'll just pay you if we're short contracts, right? And you're long those contracts. We'll just give you money, right?
Got it. I mean, dude, you make the whole thesis is very compelling. It's why I wanted to have you on. What other than just oil, obviously, are you long right now?
I mean, I came into I'm a commodities and infrastructure specialist, so I focus mainly on shipping, and then shipping is how all of these value chains move, right? So it's kind of like if you want to know what's happening in oil, you want to know what's happening in agriculture, you want to know what's happening with global trade, you can follow shipping, and then that kind of tells you, where things are flowing, how things are moving, how things are priced. I follow shipping, I follow refineries, I follow oil, I follow chemicals, I follow mining. Last year I did really well on platinum group metals, platinum mining. I've done really well in the past on oil production, on refining, on chemicals. These are just it's kind of capital intensive, kind of old economy. This is the foundation of everything type of assets that people want to pretend doesn't exist, but I mean, these are the things that keep your lights on. This is what your clothes are made of.
Yes.
This is are you a vegetarian or you're a carnivore?
Carnivore.
Well, there's a whole lot of energy, oil, and fertilizer that goes into every steak.
I know you don't even think about this stuff too, right? I mean, you do obviously, but I don't. All right, historically, have not thought about this. Yeah, it's a good point.
Your chair, your microphone, my chair, the energy to process that stuff. In some cases, the synthetic materials themselves. If even in the background, you've got an office made out of wood. Just to go harvest and process that wood, you're talking skidders, you're talking chainsaws, you're talking big trucks, you're talking, forklifts, you're talking machines that are the size of a football field that take the logs and, saw them into little strips and divide them by grade and, get the sawdust out. I mean, I actually used to work on building.
Really?
Yep.
Are you a vegetarian?
No, I'm definitely not a vegetarian.
Okay. You led with vegetarian, so I wasn't sure. Okay. If you're right, if you're even 25% right, but let's say you're 100% right, and it plays out roughly how you think it's going to play out, how high does oil go?
I mean, well, again, you get higher prices or you get shortages. In the 1970s, they tried to stop higher prices, right? Nixon actually had a price control board. He had a pricing commission. And so guys from the US government would sit down and they would say, okay, how much should this cost? How much should this cost? Nixon actually did that. Okay. I actually had like a commemorative plaque that Nixon gave to the guy that ran the pricing commission. Okay.
Pricing.
So these are the possibilities. Like my biggest fear for like betting on higher prices again is that we don't have free markets and higher prices won't be allowed. But if that's the outcome, trade stays closed, or if the damage to infrastructure, continues, then you can get shortages. You can get long lines at gas stations. You can you'll notice things cost more in other places in the economy that are harder to directly control, because if the price of oil gets subsidized or gets capped or gets controlled or manipulated, well, you still have all of these derivatives, right? And so that means you could have shortages in the derivatives, and the government can't control every single market. I mean, even with AI, can't control every single market. And when you do try to control markets, you destroy the incentives for producers, and then people stop producing things. Like if the government told you, hey, threadguy, you can only make so much money on each stream or each podcast that you do. Doesn't matter how many viewers you have. It doesn't matter how successful you are. This is the most you can ever make. Yeah. What would be your incentive for working hard, for bringing on guests, for doing more shows?
Yeah,
it's
what
pointless,
the fuck?
Right?
Yeah. It feels like there's extreme parallels to this Nixon era right now. Stagflation as well.
Yeah. Yes, I think that the 1970s, especially the potential job losses, because if you have inflation and job losses like from AI at the same time, well, that's what the 1970s was known for. It was stagflation, it was high interest rates, it was high rates of unemployment. And back then, the United States only had about a 30% debt to GDP ratio. Our debt to GDP ratio now is 130%. In 1982, the interest rate on a mortgage for a home was 22%. Okay, 22%. That's 5 times higher than it is now. If interest rates were at 22% right now today, with the average debt on the U.S. balance sheet at a 2% interest rate and new debt at just under 4%, the U.S. is spending about a sixth of its budget on interest payments.
It's ridiculous.
If interest rates went to 1970s levels, then interest would be the only thing that we could afford to pay for without printing more money. And then you're in the Argentina doom loop.
Yeah.
Argentina actually 10 years ago was in the same place that we are today, as far as their balance sheet goes and how much they're spending on interest payments. And they had less debt. They had a lower debt to GDP ratio. And Argentina, I mean, their currency has always been a basket case. So yeah, that's those are some of the places that we might be heading. Jeez. So, either we have free markets and, prices will go higher, or we don't have free markets and you should be doing what the cabinet members of the Trump administration are doing, which is basically digging bunkers.
And is there a third, I just have to ask this as the host, is there a third option where you are just wrong and the math is wrong?
I mean, is peace possible? Like, yeah, anything's possible. But again, I just don't understand what the incentive is for the Iranians who have just, had their families killed, and, their capital has got black acid rain. It's basically a ticking time bomb for anybody who breathes those fumes. They're going to have sky high cancer incidents and, in 10, 20 years. I don't see what the incentive for them is to, play nice with the United States. So, if peace breaks out, then I would anticipate that energy prices gradually return to normal.
Got it.
I think that the market expectations around that, I mean, the market thinks that basically oil is back in the 60s by September.
Yeah.
I think that that's extremely optimistic.
So the general thesis is predicated on this war is just going to leg on and leg on and leg on. And because of that, we are either going to go energy explosion or some manipulating of prices.
Well, you're either going to get much higher prices, or you're going to get what's called a wartime economy.
Got it.
Okay. Now, wartime economy is you have rationing, you have shortages. Like, during World War II, you couldn't get sugar. You couldn't use all the gas that you wanted.
Yes.
Right. Like a lot of businesses had to shut down. Businesses were nationalized during World War II. Like the government would basically say, hey, I need your ship. Yeah. I need your factory. I'm going to take it. Will my compensation be fair? I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
Good luck. So the U.S. government, the Japanese government did that. The German government did that. I mean, that just happens in a wartime economy.
You lay out a really compelling thesis, and I know this is you are in wartime in the markets right now, so I appreciate you coming on right now. My last question, and I'll let you go, is maybe like the most important, and it is, what are you using as a source of truth on what is real and what is fake and what is actually happening in the Middle East right now? Because that seems to be the hardest thing to decipher.
Okay, so I would say that the stuff that you can absolutely count on as being true is basically changes in corporate behavior. Okay, so if airlines suspend flights, if airlines resume flights, that's a signal, right? If AIS, the satellite data for the ships, that can be turned on, that can be turned off, but it is indicative of the picture. Like if you see basically no AIS within the strait at all, and there's just stories here and there about some Greek tanker owner that ran the strait
from a week ago,
indicative that almost nobody's going through, right? There was a company called Bore Drilling that today said that they had 3 drilling rigs. They specialize in jackup rigs, so those are shallow water rigs that they contract out to mostly in that region in Saudi Aramco.
Okay.
And they basically said that they had to shut down 3 rigs due to attacks. They've got 3 rigs on standby. The U.S. basically said, no, it's fake news. It's propaganda. No drilling rigs were attacked. But then you have this company, that has to put out a market announcement saying, hey, we're shutting down rigs because of attacks. Right. So, those corporate announcements, people who actually work in oil and gas infrastructure or for, or shipping, they can be biased. I think that I am biased. Okay. Like sometimes I want to believe something's true and it's not true.
Yep.
But I also, I try to not promote anything that I don't think is true. But if you look at people whose job it is to analyze these markets, they tend to have a much better handle on what's going on than your Charles Gasparinos or your Jim Cramers. These like macro tourists who don't follow oil at all, that don't really know anything about oil, gas, shipping, infrastructure. Like if the specialists are alarmed, like the specialists, most of them are never alarmed. Okay.
You've been saying this a lot, and I like the take, by the way. The specialists don't get alarmed, and your specialists are fucking alarmed right now.
Yeah, I think I get more alarmed than most. But people that I've followed for a long time, that have like basically never been alarmed are like, holy fuck.
I was debating which tweet to read to you to open the stream because you have a lot of good ones. And the one that I wrote down and didn't read is, quote, "Pain is coming. You are all whistling past the graveyard."
Yeah. Again, higher prices or shortages. Pick one.
Look, Calvin, as someone that's running a show covering what's happening in across everything right now, I am genuinely grateful for the analysis that you're putting out. I've called you shipping Citrini, as in #1 shipping guy on Twitter, at least that I'm following oil as well. So I really appreciate all.
Well, Ed Finn probably has that title officially.
Okay.
There's also Jay Mintzmeyer, John Conrad, Sal Mercoglianus.
Okay.
These guys all have different takes. I think they're all probably kind of Western leaning. Walker is a really good one to follow. Anas Al-Haji is a good oil follow.
Yes.
But there's a lot of these like rando, like traders. Like there's this one Korean guy that's a real crude trader. I mean, he trades, in size, like millions of dollars in size. And he was actually in Israel when this happened. He was in a bunker,
Jesus.
while the missiles were hitting. So as the the government is basically telling him that it's not happening, he's hearing the missiles,
Hearing it, Jesus.
explode above him, and he's buying crude contracts.
It's dark.
So,
Jeez.
yeah, it's dark.
Well, anyways, point stands that I think you're putting out really good stuff, and you make a very compelling thesis, and I appreciate you coming on, giving us your time here in the middle of chaos. Is there anything you want to sign off with? Anything you want to shill? Any links? Anywhere to send people? I think you have a lot of fans in this chat right now.
I guess just to say in general that look, don't take degenerate risks that you can't afford. I had a kind of a bad day today. I think I was down 50 grand or something today. That's kind of an average bad day. But don't take risks that you can't afford. And don't get too married to anything, even if you really believe that you're right. Don't ever go too heavy on a single thing that can take you down. The most important thing in markets and in life, I think, is live to fight another day.
That was beautiful. Hopefully we could do it again at some point, depending on how this plays out. But Calvin, I really appreciate the time, man. I think you're one of the best right now. So thanks again, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, nice being on here.
Likewise, dude. Have a good one, man. Peace. I fucking like that guy, man. I'll give you my takes on his takes, but there's another Trump speech. I'm not sure that I agree with him. That the market is either he's right or the market's being manipulated.
And targets to date, some of them very major targets.
But it's an interesting take.
Some of the most important targets for later in case we need to do it. If we hit them, it's going to take many years for them to be rebuilt.
How did I do, chat?
Having to do with.
Is there someone you don't like? I only bring people on stream I like.
Many other things. So we're not looking to do that if we don't have to. But they're the kind of things that are very easy to hit, but very devastating if they are hit. We are waiting to see what happens before we hit them. We could take them all out in one day, but it's all resulting in a 90% decline in various things, but in particular, Iranian missile launchers and 83% drop in drone launchers. As you know, the drone launchers are pretty well shot, but we're at over 90% decline in the Iranian missile launchers, which is very hard to reproduce and
sorry we have to watch this, but we just do.
And usually what we were able to do through great equipment, a lot of smart people, as soon as they sent a missile up from a launcher, we were able to knock out that launcher within a period of 5 minutes or less, accurately right on the noggin. So now we have low-cost interceptors effectively combating Iranian drones. And our B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound bombs to destroy missile launchers all over Iran and buried deep under Iranian soil in many cases. The soil
this is
was
Calvin,
no
by the way.
Match. And we're also annihilating the manufacturing base that the regime uses to build drones and missiles at a rate that nobody thought was possible. We're knocking them out.
We've already won, but we haven't won enough, Trump says. We're trying to achieve a goal of total victory. Taco in the taco.
We're ahead of our initial timeline by a lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here.
Taco in the taco.
The fact that we've taken out the leadership twice and maybe 3 times. And we, as you know, we want to be involved. We don't want another president that maybe wouldn't be willing to do what I'm willing to do for the good of the world, for the good of our nation, to be stuck with the situation in 5 years or 10 years from now. So we think they should put a president in or the head of the country in that's going to be able to do something peacefully for a change. They've been doing this for 47 years, killing people for 47 years, whether it's the barracks or even the SS Cole where they were involved. Very strongly, they always denied it. But where they were very strongly involved in all of the people that died through the roadside bombs, died and are right now walking around with no legs, no arms, a face that's been so badly damaged. The Iranian regime has been attacking Americans and spreading terror for 47 years, and despite these countless opportunities to renounce their nuclear ambitions, which they had just a short while ago, they told Mr. Witkoff, who is standing right over here, they said, they actually said, we want to keep building. Essentially, in a real nutshell, we want to continue to build nuclear weapons. If we didn't knock out Midnight Hammer, if we didn't knock out their Iranian potential, if we didn't do that with Midnight Hammer, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it long before now. And at a minimum, Israel would have been annihilated. I was very lucky that we had the courage to do that, that we had the talented pilots and the great equipment. The B-2 bombers are unbelievable. We ordered 25 more, by the way. The newer, better version. It's we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. You see that no matter where we go. You still need the people, though, to operate it and to use it. And those are the people that we cherish. Even after we obliterated their key nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, they never negotiated in good faith. They still continued to say, we want to build nuclear. We want enrichment at levels that were unacceptable. And they even turned down an offer for unlimited free nuclear fuel forever for civilian purposes. We had people offering them free nuclear fuel. They weren't interested in that because they wanted to build a nuclear weapon. So instead, the regime was trying to reconstitute its weapons program at a different site. They couldn't go back to where they were, the 3 sites that we obliterated. But they were starting work at another site, a different kind of a site. And that was protected by granite. They wanted it protected. Granite's pretty good, but they wanted it protected.
Iran says war can end if guaranteed an attack
again. They
again.
wanted to go a lot deeper, and they started the process while rapidly building conventional ballistic
oil dumps on that, probably, right?
They were going to do it all at the same time. That threatened our overseas bases.
That was Calvin's condition. He said, or if the war ends.
Homeland.
Oil ripped for manipulating markets, or the war ends, and I'm wrong. Sort of.
Exponentially growing
That's
ballistic
significant.
Missile threat to make it virtually impossible to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So as you probably
they don't
saw,
want to end
they
the
had
fucking
a
war.
tremendous number of
Bitcoin should candle
missiles,
on that.
most of which are now being used or destroyed, and very unsuccessfully used because we have been able, for the most part, to shoot them all down. What incredible technology. The Patriots have been unbelievable, and other things. And the laser technology that we have now is incredible. It's coming out pretty soon. We're literally
this is a big deal.
Lasers will do the work of, at a lot less cost, do the work of what the Patriots are doing or what other things are doing. The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And if you notice, they did something which was very foolish, very stupid, I would say. They attacked their neighbors. And their neighbors were largely neutral.
Wow,
or at least weren't going to be involved.
Wow, hype.
And they got attacked.
Beautiful candle.
And it had the reverse effect. The neighbors came onto our side and started attacking them.
Look at this.
And actually quite successfully. If you look at Saudi Arabia, you look at UAE, Qatar, and others. But they were strong and they were smart. But they got attacked. Nobody, when I first heard it, I said, no, somebody made a mistake. There was no mistake. UAE had over 1,000 missiles shot at it, knocked them almost all down. On the very first day I came down the escalator in 2015, I said, quote, I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and all I'm doing is keeping my promise. Think of that. That was in 2015. I said it. It was a threat then, and a much bigger threat now.
He also said we weren't going to go to war with Iran.
But no longer a threat, not for a long time.
I digress.
Anyway. We want to keep it that way. As we continue Operation Epic Fury, we're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world. and I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll
It doesn't
take them out
sound
so
like
quickly,
we're agreeing on
they'll
this.
never be
Don't
able to
strike
recover,
them, so the war's
ever.
over.
If they want to play that game, they better not play that game. In the long run, oil supplies will be dramatically
No, I'm
more
not in the oil
secure
long.
without the threat of Iranian ships, drones, missiles, nuclear menace,
Small loss.
or anything. So the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain safe. We have a lot of Navy ships there. We have the best equipment in the world, inspecting for mines. Again, most of their ships are down at the bottom of the sea, but we will hit them so hard that it will not be possible for them or anybody else.
It doesn't
helping
sound
them
like we're going to do
ever
this.
recover that section of the world if they do anything. In recent years, the regime and its terror proxies have launched attacks on hundreds of commercial vessels. We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families. We've done that. We've done it. We brought it very low. This was just an excursion into something that had to be done. We're getting very close to finishing that, too. In the meantime,
Doesn't
during
seem
this
like he
brief
wants to stop.
disruption, the United States is offering political risk insurance to any tankers operating in the Gulf. So we're putting up
We're both
risk
on Seoul.
insurance. We'll
Yeah.
perhaps go alongside of them for
Ish.
protection. We don't think it'll be
In theory, I'm bullish
necessary.
on Seoul,
If
but I
it
don't
is,
have any.
and if they do anything, the price will be incalculable. It will be so great that they will have wished they never did it.
Incalculable.
Because you have to keep the straits flowing. With all of that, it affects other countries much more than it does the United States. It doesn't really affect us. We have so much oil. We have tremendous oil and gas, much more than we need. We have Venezuela now as our new partner.
Forgot to
great
ask about
partner.
Venezuela.
It's
Fuck.
worked out so wonderful.
My bad.
We're working with the administration, the president, and it's a
24-hour volume,
massive
$2
source of
billion with
oil,
175 million open
gas,
interest.
everything. But we're in a very good position, but very unfair to other parts of the world, like China as an example. I mean, we're doing this for the other parts of the world, including countries like China. They get a lot of their oil through the straits. So we're doing this. We have a very good relationship with President Xi in China. I'm going there in a short period of time. And we're protecting the world from what these lunatics are trying to do, and very successfully, I might add. We're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take
Say
those
thank you,
sanctions
China.
off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the
Xi, say
time
thank
comes, the
you.
U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through. And we have the greatest mine-sweeping ability. We have the greatest ships, and all of the. We know exactly where they're placed. We'll get them out of there very fast. But
Deep Seek tomorrow,
we hope
probably,
we
by the
don't
way.
have any of that. And again, if they do that, if they play that game, we're going to hit them at a level that they have not seen before. So we're winning very decisively. We're way
I feel like
ahead
oil
of
should be going
schedule.
up on this. Why is it not going up?
Our military is
I
the
don't have any.
greatest
Why is
in
it
the
not going
world,
up?
with the greatest equipment and the greatest
not
people in the
over.
world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Iran's a very powerful country. They were going to take over the Middle East. If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had
I'm on the wrong
thousands
chart.
and thousands of
Look at
missiles
Brent.
and everything else. Most are now destroyed. But they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder. Thank you very
sound like
much
it,
for being
Trump.
here. Go ahead. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Do you approve of Iran's new supreme leader? And secondly, can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with
Skips the first question.
President Putin. We had a lot of people on the line from our side, from his side. We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending
No, not
fight.
confirmed. Not confirmed.
And,
Made it up.
Look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. But I think it was
Be right
a
back.
positive
Keep
call
listening.
on that
Sorry.
subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the Ukraine-Russia war over with. That would be more helpful. But we had a very good talk, and he wants to be very constructive. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are 2 levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But 2 levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
to Cuba, you said that Cuba wants to make a deal.
Yes.
What would the United States get in return for that, and why should Americans trust Marco Rubio to negotiate it?
Well, Marco Rubio is doing a great job. I think he's going to go down as the greatest Secretary of State in history. Look at what we've done as a presidency. Look at what we've done as an administration. They trust Marco. And
I like
so
Marco
The
Rubio.
American people trust. He's been successful no matter where he's been. He also speaks the language, which is always nice and always helpful. But he's dealing, and it may be a friendly takeover. It may not be a friendly takeover. It wouldn't matter because they're really they're down to, as they say, fumes. They have no energy. They have no money. They're in deep trouble on a humanitarian basis. And we don't want to see that, but they were very, very bad to a lot of people, as you know, and a lot of people living on the Cuban-American vote, which I got at record levels. Very important. Those people are very important to me. I know what they went through. They went through hell. Some of them have gone on to be some of the most successful people in the country. Cuban-American
Shouldn't this headline
business people, some of
pump
them
oil
are
as well?
like the most successful in the country. And a lot of them are friends of mine because I've been fighting this battle with them for a long time. The Castro regime
They all
was
seem
brutal,
significant. It feels like we're not
but
done.
they lived off Venezuela. Now they don't live off Venezuela. Sends them no energy, no fuel, no oil, no money, no nothing. They lived without Venezuela. They couldn't have made it. And we cut them off from everything else. So, yeah, they're going to make either a deal or we'll do it just as easy anyway. Yeah. Please, go ahead.
Tomahawk missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I
for
haven't
that strike?
seen it, and I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful
seen it.
weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now. Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Hasn't
Mr.
seen
President,
it.
you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it?
Good
and How long
question.
should Americans be
Well, I
prepared
think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So
No one
you
has a
could look at
fucking
that
clue is
statement.
right. No one even knows
we
what's
could
happening.
Call it a tremendous success right now as we leave
I
here.
feel
could
like
call
oil
it-
should be
or
higher,
we could
bro.
go further.
This was the
And
taco.
we're going to go further. But the big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days. When you
This
think
was the
about
taco.
It's incredible. We wiped out a big Navy, very powerful Navy.
Why are we not like ripping?
You know, these were ships. These were serious ships. These were ships that you buy when you want to win battles. They're all on the bottom floor. The sailors are all running off their ships. They refuse to get on the ships. The Air Force is gone. Everything's gone. The missiles are down to a trickle.
No one even knows
the
what's
drones
real,
are
though.
down.
What do they actually
to
have? I have no clue.
Probably 25%, and they'll soon be down to nothing. We'll have where they manufactured the drones are under fire as we speak. They're being hit. So the
But
rest
thinking the
is
war
gonna
was
be
already won last week. Now we have
determination
3 to
as
30 months of war for fun.
my attitude, along with the people in the Trump administration, what we want to do. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you, you mentioned you were going to waive certain additional oil waivers or sanctions. Can you talk a little bit more about that and address in particular?
Well,
are
we're
you
looking to
considering
keep the
measures
oil prices down. We went artificially up because of this excursion into a very positive thing. I mean, this was an excursion that a lot of people wouldn't have done.
No way that
I
candle's
knew
at
oil
red.
prices would go up if I did this, and they've gone up probably
No, I have no
less
position.
than I thought they'd go up. But I don't think anybody
They
thought
went up
we were
less
gonna
than I
be
thought they
this
would go up,
quickly
you said?
Successful. This was a military success, the likes of which people haven't seen. We have the best military. We have the best equipment. We have, I believe, the best generals. We have the best. And
I believe
this
the
went
best
very
generals?
quickly. We talked about that with President Putin. He was very impressed with what he saw because nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. You know, Iran was a very powerful military country with all of the missiles. Now, you had the double attack. You had the original attack with us and Israel, and that knocked them for a loop. Then you had the B-2 bombers, which took out their nuclear capability, and they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And they would have used it long before this press conference. And we might have had a much different press conference if we had a press conference at all. But it's been amazing. The military success that we've had is truly unprecedented.
Trump like fuck Calvin.
You said you've told your congressional colleagues that you will not sign any piece of legislation until the Save America Act is passed. Does that include the confirmation of Senator Mullen as your next DHS secretary? Does that mean a DHS funding bill? And Senator Thune said today it's not a matter of whether or not your Republican colleagues agree with the policy. It's about changing the process. In other words, getting rid of the filibuster to get there.
So in order to get it, you're going to need Democrat votes. And what we're saying is the Save America, not the SAVE Act, which nobody knew what it was, the Save America Act, the Save America Act. And that's voter ID. We want voter ID. We want to be able to see a picture of the voter. We want to be able to see that the voter is legitimate. We want, very importantly, confirmation that this voter is a citizen of the United States of America, and we want no mail-in ballot scams. So we have exceptions for the military, for sick, for disabled, and for people that are away, business trips or whatever. Even vacations will be very liberal in that. We've added 2 things to it: no men and women's sports, and no trans.
I want to talk about oil.
Mutilization.
I don't
of
care
our
about
children. We don't want our
women's sports right now.
It's mutilization of our children, and we don't want that. So we added those 2 things. That's the 5 points. We have 5 very
Dude, who asked this
good
dumbass
points.
question?
It polls at 86% with Democrats. Think of that. The overall vote is 86%.
Who asked that?
With Republicans, it's 98%. And the only one opposed to it is a Democrat leadership because they cheat. They want to cheat. So we added those 2 points. We're going for the gold, and we're going to have to fight like hell. Now, certain things will happen.
Why?
Certain things will take place. I'm here to do a great job
Ask
for the
about
country.
boots on the ground. Talk
But
about
we don't
fucking
have a
women and
country
men's
if we're going
sports.
to have elections that are so corrupt,
Men and women's
so
sports.
dishonest, like we've witnessed over the last period of time. You know, as an example, virtually nobody has a system
Draft coming soon.
of mail-in ballots like we have. No other
I have a
country
torn
in the
labrum.
world. France went away from
I can't
it.
get drafted.
They all went, you know
I have a
why?
torn
Because
shoulder.
It's corrupt. And Jimmy Carter, when he had a commission, frankly, I think it's probably the best thing Jimmy Carter did. He said, you can't have mail-in voting because it's inherently dishonest. And it's turned out to be totally dishonest, so we're going to fight for it. Yeah.
activated any sleeper cells inside the U.S. There's reports that they have pressed that trigger button to activate those cells, at least abroad.
Well, they've been trying for a long time. We've been very much on top of it. One of the things we have to do is get the Democrats to stop the Democrat shutdown, because, as you know, the apparatus that looks into that, Schumer and the Democrats have shut it down, which tells you they probably hate our country a lot. But the Democrats have to open that up. But we've got very, very good intelligence into that. We know a lot of different things that have happened that have been very bad. A lot of them came in during the Biden open border period, but we have them under, we've got them, we're watching every single one of them. Yeah, we know a lot about them.
Palantir.
The biggest problem we have is the Democrat shutdown.
Palantir,
we know
right?
a lot about them.
We're watching them.
But the shutdown
Palantir.
doesn't allow us to do what we have to do.
Do you have to take him out? Does he have a target on his back?
You mean the new supreme leader? You mean the son?
How can there be an Iran with
Well,
another
I don't want to say that, but you know, I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
Thank you, sir. You've said you have someone in mind to be the new Iranian leadership, if not the Ayatollah's son. What are you looking for in that person? Are you looking at someone internal, given that you just said that their leadership has been decimated?
I like the
and
idea
wiped
of,
out?
internal and eternal, come to think of it. But I like the idea of internal because it works well. I mean, I think we've proven that so far in Venezuela. We have a woman, Delcy, who has been, president of the country, very respected, she's doing a great job. And it's, no disruption. We had, as you remember, Iraq, where everybody got fired. The military got fired, the police got fired, the politicians got fired. There was nobody. And you know what they turned into? ISIS. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So I would like to see people that are inside go. Now
Imagine
they
someone
talk
slimes
about
your dad, and the
son
next
of
day you in
Bashar.
charge.
They talk about other people, but hasn't been there in many, many years. We have a formula that's been very good so far, and I think it'll continue to be good. The relationship is
Yeah, one more top to
extraordinary
these
with
fucking reporters.
Venezuela.
If we ask better
Smart
questions.
country. We've taken out 100
Not good
million
PA here. I'm ready to.
barrels of
Oh
oil
my
sitting
god, dude!
now
I'm just like.
in Houston being taken care of and made so beautiful. You
It's
have
just
to
like
see
so
this
hard to
work.
long a Trump
They have,
headline proxy.
It's brought to the refineries. It's being refined in Houston, which is made exactly for that product. And so far, but it's 100 million barrels of oil, and now they have another 100 million barrels coming. And it's like a partnership. We're getting along so well with them. It's great for Venezuela, and it's great for the United States. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, you just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report. Yeah, please.
You said earlier that we've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. What do you consider enough? What's your baseline?
Where they're
this
not going to
conflict?
be starting the following day to develop a nuclear weapon, where they'll look at that man and some other people from the administration and say, all right, we're not going to do it. They were not willing to say that. And when Steve called up and he said that to me,
ripping,
I said,
dude.
well,
This is
here
going
we
to
go.
fucking rip.
Let's do it the hard way. But the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way. When basically I can see that they will no longer have any capacity whatsoever for a very long period of time of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States, Israel, or any of our allies. We have great
Dude,
allies
we're not
in the
stopping,
Middle East,
bro.
great countries that are allies. And they were staying out of it until they got hit. Someday they'll have to do a story. Why did he do that? Why did they do that? But they were going to hit them. If I didn't hit them first, they were going to hit our allies first. I believe, upon information and belief, but I believe that he was going to, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were looking to take over the Middle East. Now, had Operation Midnight Hammer not taken place, that was definite, because they would have had a nuclear weapon within a matter of weeks. But that took place. That was a setback. But look at the number of missiles they were able to buy and make over the last 6 months. And those missiles were aimed at various countries. And when you look at over 1,000 missiles shot at like UAE, they were looking to take over the Middle East. We got there first. We're lucky. I'll tell you what, the Middle East and those countries, very rich countries, are very lucky that I was president instead of somebody else.
Vice president when it comes to U.S. action in Iran?
I don't think so, no. No, we get along very well on this. He was, I would say, philosophically a little bit different than me. I think he was maybe less enthusiastic about going, but he was quite enthusiastic. But I felt it was something we had to do. I didn't feel we had a choice. If we didn't do it, they would have done it to us. I felt, based on the negotiations that were being had by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco and Pete and everybody was involved, I felt that they were looking to tap us along before they hit, and I thought they were going to hit. And if they hit us first, that would have been a very bad thing. In the back, please, in the back.
Dude, the problem is he already pulled out the taco, too.
Yeah, well, I want to keep it open. I want to keep it good. You know, it doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here and other countries because they get a lot of their energy from the Straits.
It's a lot harder for him.
But, hey, look, we have a good relationship with China. It's my honor to do it. Yeah.
You have called him an unacceptable choice. So does he have a target on his back? And how can you say
I don't want to say whether or not he does because that would be inappropriate. But, hey, look, I had a target on my back because, as you people wrote pretty well, they caught the assassin that was after me. So we just got them first. But they caught the assassin. They have him now in custody that was after me. So, you know, but... people don't like to mention that, but they did catch him. And I'd like to congratulate our military, Secret Service, FBI, all of the people that worked on that, but they did. Yeah, please.
Dude.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Jeez, man.
You promised the Iranian people you would help them.
Fucking spicy
sounds like
shit.
You're willing to end this fight after your military objectives have wrapped up. Isn't that a betrayal of the people?
Will I help them? I'd like to, if they can behave. But they've been very menacing. You know, they're great people. They have an amazing population. It's amazing, smart, brilliant, energetic. They have a great, I'd love to help them, but they have to be in a system that allows them to be helped. And right now they're in a system that only allows failure. And I don't want that. And I want a system that's not going to be attacking us. We want a system that can lead to many years of peace.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now. Yeah, please.
President, as of today, there have been 8 U.S. military fatalities associated with the war in Iran. How many American deaths are you willing to have in this war?
Well, as I said before, when you have conflicts like this, you always have death. And I was at Dover yesterday. I met the parents, and they were unbelievable people. They were unbelievable people, but they all had one thing in common. They said to me one thing, every single one, finish the job, sir. Please finish the job. And I'll leave you at that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I feel like that didn't go great. That is an unreal sign-off. Thank you for joining. Holy fuck. Dude, okay. Basically, where we are at is that Iran wants this to be over. Trump says we will only end. Iran says if you stop bombing us right now, we are done. We'll open the strait. We're done. Trump says, I know we could be done, but I'm not done until we get Iran to a spot where they can't repeat what they had. And the reporter says, what does that mean? And they said a spot where they could never build nuclear weapons again is what I believe he said. Something along those lines. This doesn't feel like it's ending anytime soon, chat. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you've got a different vibe from that press conference, but I don't feel like... I don't know. I mean, oil seems to think no. You think he got a tap on the shoulder and said, hey, oil's ripping, get the fuck off the stage? Or no? Because it sort of feels like yes. I mean, to be fair, he answered every question and he got some hard questions. But, yeah. This just becomes a very precarious spot if oil... It's not ripping. I mean, it moved a decent amount press conference duration, right? I mean, we're back up another 12% off the lows intradays. If this thing rips again, though, I think you get in a very weird spot because you sort of used the taco already. And so what you have left is this strategic petroleum reserve to tap into. But I should have asked Calvin about that. From everything I've learned, the SPR is relatively underwhelming. We don't have that much oil. The press conference TLDR. The war will be over soon, but it's also just the beginning. Also, Irana's Tomahawks had somehow bombed their own elementary school. I don't know what happens. Like, I'm not a fucking oil trader. I have no idea what happens. I'm just sort of repeating my sentiment that I share with you. And this was a fucking long, intense, good stream. We're in a very unique spot here, fellas, but I think we're fucking covering it pretty well. And my general read as a 7-day geopolitical expert is that, I mean, he wants destruction of Iran, like total destruction. And what it actually takes to achieve that final notch is unclear. I don't know. But it feels like we have a ways to go. Oil's sort of dumping right now. I wonder if he made another announcement. But it doesn't feel like we're going to just snap our fingers and be done here. Again, if we wanted to be, we could be, which makes it really difficult to trade anything in this market, especially oil. But it feels like this is going to leg on here. So we'll be covering it the whole week amongst a plethora of other things. Crypto, we have a Hyperliquid stuff to read. Zcash is going crazy. There is a lot of stuff happening in the world that isn't just this. I cover it every day in the pit when I'm off stream. The pit is my little Telegram group. I never have tweeted it. I only share it in here when we have viewers. If you would like to join, it's a mess in there. It's schizo as fuck. And good luck. I'll drop it in YouTube as well. And tomorrow, I think we should spend a lot of time learning about the Calvin interview. 70s era, Nixon, price controls, nationalizing these companies, all of that. I know we have more stuff to talk about, but that's 2 streams in one day. That is 2 streams in one day. Would you... Chat, be honest. I'm doing my best to pivot as a fucking geopolitical stream. What do you think of our coverage right now? How was this? Cool. Cool. There is a reasonable... There's a non-zero chance I do market open tomorrow. Maybe not, though. I don't know. I might. I need to go, like, take a nap and decide if I want to do market open. But maybe. Maybe we'll do market open. But, yeah, shit is volatile right now. And if you are a trading intraday, it's electric. You have the volatility that you so desperately could ask for. So, all right, I'm out. I love y'all. I'm leaving. I'll see you in the pit. I'm going to the gym. PT starts soon. My fucking shoulder hurts. And I'm about to fucking play some Pokemon and listen to, I don't know, whoever. Love y'all. I'm out. Peace.